What is going on, Fortnite fam? Welcome back to the Fortnite Champion Series. Last weekend, we saw Reason and Benji Fishy stand above the rest. And now with 1 weekend left of competition, which 50 players will push on through to Grand Finals and the Heats next week? Well, we're about to find out. We are getting ready to get into all the games. Joining us here on the analyst desk, we got Monster D-Face. How you doing, my man?
Hey, ready to rock and roll, man. Like you mentioned, week one was insane. Those days were going crazy. Reason and Benji at the top of the food chain. It was literally a historical moment for both the players who are writing their whole entire new story, right, for Fortnite competitive.
That's right. The story continues moving on, especially as we'll be seeing them in Grand Finals. We will have Ball TW joining us in just a moment, and we'll get into the show. But first, let's talk about what you guys can expect as a viewer. If you're just tuning in for the first time, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. If you've been with us before, you kind of know what the general, how the general flow of the show is going to be. But for those of you who don't know, don't worry. We're going to get you up to speed. It's a great day of Fortnite. It's going to be a great day for some incredible games and some awesome action out of EU. And then later on in the day, we'll be back for NA East. With that being said, let's talk about the format and what you guys should be seeing. Now, keep in mind, we're hopping in. Every day is a self-contained mini-tournament, if you will. Round 1 is open to Champion League and above, where then from the top 3,000, move on into round number 2. From there, the top 100 players advance to round number 3, and that is what we will be watching today. From here, the top 50 players will advance to the Heats next Friday, so definitely keep your eyes locked on that. But Monster, the big takeaway here is players could be potentially playing a maximum of 14 games before hitting here. So competition is already pretty steep. The Heat's here, 100 players, top 25 will advance to Grand Finals, and that's where I'm looking to see, Monster. The Grand Finals, 6 matches, 1 FNCS champion is crowned.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, it's a long stretch, right? Putting in all these games. These are grueling, taxing days for the pro players. But it's only 6 matches, and they're all leading up to that big Grand Finals, right? That money that's on the line. And, of course, what's next is that Heats division. So it is all in lead up for even better and better competition. And let's not count out the fact that these top 100s have been hard for the players to even qualify into, right? We have players like Mr. Savage who didn't even make it through today.
That's right. Mongrel as well will not be in the competition today, but possibly tomorrow will be his shot to run it back. Of course, we're going to keep talking about more on this. Bala will be joining us here any moment. Bala, are you there? Bala?
I am, Zeke.
Woo!
Hey, guys. How you guys doing?
Fantastic, my friend. So much better now that you are here. Now, moving on along, we got that point format, gentlemen. 14 points for the Victory Royale placement. As far out as 75th, with a single placement point being on the table, placing between 51st and 75th. Now, the big kicker here is every elimination is 1 point, capped at 20. So even if someone was to rack up 30 eliminations, they will only walk away with 20 points total from that. So 34 points total available on the table as far as the point total is concerned. Now, we haven't seen anything higher than 8 eliminations yet, Bala. So maybe today is the day to break into double digits.
It could be, and I think that if you're looking at historically how this goes throughout FNCSs, it does get looser. It does get slightly easier and also potentially more W key focused. So if there's any day, Zeke, you're right. It could be today or tomorrow.
That's right. And of course, Monster. I mean, listen, man, you know me. I love breaking into double digits. I like seeing people pop off and rack up elims. You think today's the day?
Hey, I mean, Mitro set a little bit of a pace today for himself, right? Pulling in a big W key game for himself, 18 eliminations, barely qualifying his way through. We'll see him soon there on the last page of the roster for people that made it to top 100, but it's hard. We've only seen, at best, 8 on this kind of, or making it this far when we boil it down to the top 100 on the given day. So to break into double digits, that'll be a record pace for this FNCS solos.
Man. I mean, listen, EU's always bringing that fire, and I'm hoping today is that day. I mean, we also, let's not forget, we got NA East coming on later in the day, so we have a great day of Fortnite ahead of us. Here's your pricing breakdown for Europe specifically. Do keep in mind, every 100 player, all the 100 players, excuse me, who are participating today will walk away with something. First place, of course, at $5,000. You would like to place first if possible. Reason, Benji have done it last week. The question is who will walk away in that first place spot today. Now, don't forget, there is also 7 regions all going head to head, and they all have individual prize money on the line. So we'll take a look at one of the graphics here in just a moment, kind of breaking down the overall pool available to every single region. Europe, of course, being that largest prize pool, the largest player base, and a lot of players will be participating. Guys, I'm telling you, I get so hyped every time I think about it. I'm like, I'm going to keep myself calm, and then I think about what's ahead, and then it's immediately, I'm in the hype zone.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying,
what's
right?
not to be hype about, man? Like, look at this prize pool for all these different regions, and it keeps coming. So we keep going, and when it comes to the grand finals, it's going to be even more. When we get to stage 2, it's going to be even more. So what's not to be hyped about, Zeke?
Oh, man. Well, you're getting me excited now. Of course, 2 very quick notes before we do kind of keep the ball moving. The first thing I wanted to actually talk about was something really awesome coming to Party Royale. It is Shark Week. You guys ever wonder why sharks in-game are so aggressive? Well, it's because something is hunting them, forcing them out of their own home. If you want to know what could scare a shark, hop into Party Royale Monday, August 10th for an exclusive world premiere of Tiger King Shark. It'll run at the top of every hour for 24 hours, so definitely give that a watch. And next time a shark hops into your box, you'll understand why he may be doing it. For more info on that, check out the blog on Fortnite.com. And please hop into Party Royale. I'm going to be there. I'm a big fan of it, so I hope to see you guys there. The next point, of course, is Joyride has hit the game. Though it's fun to cruise around in vehicles, do keep in mind we will not be seeing them here in competitive playlists. With that being said, guys, we are getting ready to hop into games. The Battle Bus is being prepared. But, as I mentioned before, there's 7 regions all going head-to-head. So what we need to do is probably take an eye and dive on in to see what is going on over there in all of those other regions. Of course, guys, the first place I want to dive into is the OCEan leaderboard. Do you see what I did there? Did you see it?
He did it.
Like the ocean?
Let's dive into OCE. Let's take a look at OCE and see how things have gone over there for them. Who is currently holding that #1 spot in OCE? Turns out FRX Tyraxia, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Congratulations, 60 points, 20 eliminations, no victory royale, but still enough to keep him there in first place.
Yeah, for me, though, on this first page right here, we're not seeing Worthy. He didn't actually qualify for the grand finals of OCE, and that means that Muzz, the consistency that he's had, is going to put him in the top spot in FNCS series points, and that's kind of the barometer I use when I'm trying to figure out who the best player is and who is going to be the biggest contender when we get to the seasonal finals.
And just to kind of touch on that barometer, right, and talk about how the regions play out, just look at the cutoff, right? 43 points for top 10, 11 elims towards the bottom. But this is an elim top heavy for OCE. And when we switch over to the other page here, you can see those elims are just going to fizzle out all of a sudden, drastically cutting down to barely hitting those double digits. So it was a close running for the points across the board there. Jalen, the second page here, has a little bit more some notable names, big names like Power Looter as well, coming in on 20th there. But that's just a taste, right, of OCE in the top 25 that are moving on.
Yeah, the PWR guys cleaned up, and they're continuing to clean up over time. Jalen up there too, Jinx as well. But here's the top 25. These are the guys who will qualify based on this performance alone. And for people like Muffin Man, Colts, Bray, I'm not sure about Fresh, by the way, if we've seen him in the top 25 yet. But in any case, this is a qualifying spot for the Heats and for the seasonal finals. They'll be able to fight for that grand finals and the AXA champions at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think this is Fresh finally breaking his way through. So big day for Fresh right here, coming in 22nd. You know, he's been putting a lot of work in there and getting the respect that he deserves, man. But it's going to be an only uphill battle from here. We know that when things get tighter and tighter, the competition changes and some players make or break in those circumstances. But here's the next region. It's Asia, Zeke.
That's right, Rifix holding down that #1 spot, 58 points, 12 eliminations in the Victory Royale to their name. Again, the top 25 in OCE and Asia will move on. And here we get a nice point spread all the way down to 39 points for 10th place, Paula.
Yeah, and that gives us an indication of how these games are going to continue in the seasonal finals. 2 things to note on this first page. Rifex, this is his first qualification to the round 3 stage, to this weekly finals, I guess you could normally call it. And he does it in style, flying colors all the way at the top. And then secondly is Wildhawk. This is probably one of the most consistent FNCS performance we've seen in any region so far, because he got 2nd, 4th, and 5th so far in all the weeks. That definitely means I'm pretty sure that this guy is going to be way up there. I'm pretty sure this is Riddle, but obviously these names are very, very much confusing.
Yeah, that's just kind of how it plays. You see CRSQJ down there, right? That's Q-Jack. We've seen him in previous kind of leaderboards before. Obviously, one of the runner-ups on the scene. A big notable name here as well. 19th Bell, right? Pushing his way through. T1 Quick. So these are notable players that we've seen consistently pull through on the Asia leaderboards here in the standings. But what I wanted to point out is the fact that the eliminations are so much lower on this standings compared to OCE. On the last page, we saw a few players kind of getting up there, but the first place, Rivex, like we said here, he only had 12 elims for the Victory Royale, so it just shows you how things are kind of changing up just to break it through to top 25.
Here we go, the top 25 cutoff for Asia, 31 points. Ruri just edging past there. The eliminations being what pushed him over the edge. Those 4 ended up helping him qualify onto the next week. Super excited about that. And of course, guys, we are taking a look at all things EU today. You're probably asking, well, which 100 players are we going to look at, Zeke? Who has pushed on through? Hey, don't even worry. We got you guys covered. Boom. Here is a big breakdown of all of the players. Milan, Toos, Andalex, Snappy, Kinzel, Bad Sniper, just to name a handful there. And the list continues, guys. There's so many names to talk about here.
That they do, and they're ordered in order of how they played in the semifinals. So Podesai at the top in semifinals, but yeah, you said it. All these different names. Vino, somebody who's starting to really perform. Vadil as well. Andalex is here, and he's going to try to perform and get all the way to that top spot. And you know his strength. You know he is the former FNCS champ, at least the last one in the duo season.
And on the second page, man, I'm just keeping my eyes on Reason here, right? You got Kiriachi making his breakthrough. Finally, all the way to round 3. So now we're going to see Kiriachi, but we know he struggles when it goes later and later into the competitions. He's typically want to fly through the open days, but we'll see if Kiriachi is able to overturn that boulder and reach the other side now.
Here's another page here. We got more players up on board. So again, guys, as you guys are watching these games, don't forget, a lot of these players have already played a maximum of 14 matches before making it through here. They've had to push through round 1 and 2 to make it to round number 3. So definitely keep an eye on how they are performing, how they're popping off, or if they're having that slow start, don't worry. They still have time. We have a 6-game total here to be played, and I'm looking forward to all of the action.
Yeah, me too. And again, because of the names that we're seeing, this is, you know, we're seeing definitely some turnover week or day after day, and that makes sense given what you just talked about, Zeke. But there are some people who qualified multiple times. I mean, we thought and we saw that happen again in the day 2 last weekend, but here there's even more. I believe 9 players have qualified for every single round 3 here. And now, looking at this, close to the final page, we got Artur, we got Rax, AR Baffo, who we saw come to rise to prominence in the Invitational with his aggressive play style, holding people depending on where the zone is. And it is going to be a stacked day for EU.
I'm looking at Hardfind there. We saw Mitro slide his way on through. So these are names that are finally making their way. Players like Kiriachi, players like Mitro that are finally making their way to day 3. I'm excited to see those names kind of pop off here.
We'll have to see, man. Again, this is it. The last 2 days of competition before those final set of heats, right before grand finals. This is the time to show up. For a lot of these players that have qualified, they're thinking, okay, I'm safe. I can try and rack up prize money, continue to rack up series points. For a lot of these players that haven't qualified, that are just making it in, especially into round number 3, they're probably thinking, what can I do to make it in the top 50? Or 2, what can I do to secure myself these series points that may give me that additional shot? But with that being said, guys, it's time for some games. So let's get ready to send it over to Clay Staling and Sundown to get us in the game.
Monster, I'm Sundown, joined here by Clay, and we'll be taking you through 6 games of top-level Fortnite action in EU today. Clay, how are you doing?
I'm excited. I'm ready to see what EU has in store. Last weekend, it was a battle for first there between Benji and Noah Riley. Today, let's see, will it be a battle for first at the end of 6 games? I think it's going to be. EU never ceases to amaze us.
It never ceases to amaze, and now it's time to get into that match number 1. No more of us, exactly straight into the game. Let's see what the bus path looks like. Let's see where everyone is going. And who are a couple people that you have your eye on this game, Clay?
actually save it. He didn't make it in the second day of qualifications. He did that first day, but didn't end up doing it well. I think placed around 91st. But today, making it in, looking to see if he gets to that top 50. Definitely somebody we got to keep our eyes on. We have Rezon, of course, in here. Teak, Seven toward Noah Riley, all the big names, but definitely going to hit home, save it. And Wolfies, who again is playing on an injury, but he's here again today.
And you can see right away, there's that initial map with everyone dropping in. Of course, Slurpy Swamp and the new Coral Castles in play. We see 2 players over at Coral Castles and a number of players at the surrounding islands now, as we're going to hop on board here with our qualifier number 2 winner, NRG's Benji Fishy, who's in a tough spot already at 25 HP, trying to go straight to a pistol medal, but gets taken down. Krash is going to be on the other side of that. You also see Teeks picking up an early elim as well. Already 10 players going down, but that can be anticipated off of that initial rush, and each one of those elims is going to be worth 1 point.
And qualifier day winner number 1, Rezon, going to go down as well. So both big name hitters, Rezon and Benji, are fallen in this game. There's still 5 more games to go, and I'm not too worried about them having pop-off games as they've shown us time and again. But that's pretty big going down this early into the day. Of course, we still have tomorrow as well, but these days for them are really about solidifying their drop spot, really about finding out who could be landing on them in the heats. And right now, they're not winning their drop spots. That could be cause for concern, as we're on board here with Zestin, who's going to get some nice beams into the crash pads immediately. He's going to get the tags onto the white health of that player. A beautiful edit, but that player going to go the opposite way. We saw the crash pads be used very well last qualifier, and they're going to be used good here. 25 more damage onto this player will eliminate them. We saw that 75 tag come through. Zeston, though, taking a lot of damage, and they are going to be able to pick up the elimination, but the third party's coming in.
Yeah, and he's coming in hot. You can see that green arrow in the bottom right-hand corner closing in. That is the Grizzly player there, 6 error, trying to close the gap, but might not be able to commit in time before he's able to get those mini potions off. And this early, if you're not able to resolve a fight quickly, you don't really want to get bogged down in one, as now we swap on over to 4E Vino, who's by the Gorgeous Gorge area. And once you drop in to get these chests, it's super dangerous because you're committed straight to a fight. Vino gets a pair of tags. He's going to use his chug splashes and look to drop down and start this fight.
When going in right with the harpoon, that's going to catch the play off guard. He is going to get the wall there. Edit not going to come through in time, and that's going to allow the player to go out and away. But Vino, in this area, needs to finish it quickly. This is the story of solos. You don't finish your fights quick enough, you're going to get third-partied. Player, though, managing to stay alive and play a little bit of back and forth. The edit on the cone comes through, a big hit from Vino, but who's going to come out on top? Vino hits another one, but down to 16 HP. Ooh, and the jump up going to come through, and Vino does end up picking up the elimination.
Don't Care Tyne doing a good job of using his last defense of the cone to kind of try and play that last-ditch effort box fight, but not quite being enough, getting either party down, just a one-tag situation. But now got a little bit of friendly fire going on between 2 of the Become Legends players there. You see Edison on one side, and I don't exactly see who is on the other, but they're right over kind of in this northeast passageway, just on one of the edge houses. It can be really difficult if you get bogged down in a fight there. You can see a little bit of smoke coming from the campfire, so you know the player is on at least some form of injured damage to him. Edison trying to track down big 43 white tag there, and he's going to follow them right away. That was 6 who was on the other side of that.
And that's one of those elims you get, and you know they're going to be coming in to your DMs after. You're like, why'd you, oh, what? I can't believe you came across me and elim me. And that's one, you just got to path a little bit better on your rotation. As we move over to a big fight here between Mitro and Axforce. Mitro finally in here yet again, had an amazing qualification run. As Axforce is trying to get out with the crash pads, Mitro continuously peppering him there with that AR, and the wall almost getting taken. Mitro takes a big hit, though. This is not looking good here from shields are cracked as well. Axforce took the defense and immediately put it back on offense. And Mitro is looking really, really bad here. He's got to make a good play. Then it comes out, and he makes an amazing play. He just 50-50s him. He says, you know what? I've got a charge. You've got attack. I'm going to take it. And he ends up on top.
Yeah, that's the difference maker. You keyed in on it right away. It's the tack versus the charge. And when you're in that fight, if you're able to kind of keep that high rate of fire and keep your distance and get the repeated tags, there's no reason to close the gap like that. You need to keep your distance, but Mitro is so good at kind of exploiting that one opportunity. He hits a huge charge shotgun shot there. But it was brilliant by Zestin. A nice little reverse edit to drop down the high ground of his opponent, and he's able to get the upper hand with a quick little tack shotgun shot there. But now he's going to reset, pop off that big pot and make sure he's at his most efficient HP to kind of close out this engagement.
Ooh, and almost catching that player there with the edit up. Luckily able to get out of it. Now putting the pressure back down. He looked like he was on the offense and then back on the defense. That little step back to get the big shot really is going to allow him to go a little bit more aggressive here. The shots are going in. That player going to miss. He's going to drop into a box that's not his. He does a lot of damage, but I don't know if that's where he wants to be, but a clean shot onto Kumu is going to get the elimination.
Yeah, that's a big point coming out from him there. Unfortunately, having to eat that big pot and then also taking the trade, he's going to lose a little bit out in terms of the effective HP. Not going to be able to get up to the 100 mark, but he is closing in on the top 75 as well. And we kind of talk about the rhythm. Over the course of these 6 games, it's really important in the first 2 games to kind of establish yourself, because once you're in these set lobbies, you don't just get to go and queue back up. It's not, okay, I get to reset and face somebody else at the drop, as RQS Heat just absolutely ends Train H Matfi there with a brilliant shot from the bush with the hunting rifle, and he's going to have to go back and experience that, waiting for the next lobby to come through and watching everyone else, maybe get a little bit of replay review going on, but otherwise just kind of collect yourself and go next, as we have a 3-way fight going on here.
This is an awkward one too, with Light coming in being the third party. He actually may end up picking both. He doesn't. One of them ends up going away, but he comes out the victor. A very well-placed third-party timing. It was just beautiful. He came in, got the elims, and now he's sitting on a bunch of extra mats. Not in center zone, though, so it's not going to be that beneficial. He gets to sit here relatively comfortably, doesn't have to worry about third parties coming into him. This is what we talked about. You have to end your fights quickly, and that's the definition of doing it quickly. You come in at the right moment, you take your opportunity, you seize it, you get your point, and now you sit and you relax until that next zone shows up.
Yeah, he's a benefactor. Tons of extra loot and builds there. He's going to be able to pick what he wants to have the loadout. Also notice next player who goes down will miss out on that first round of placement points. So it's really key that you're able to get every single one of those initial points and kind of establish yourself in the game. As you see Craig, the player who was able to take out Benji early at Surfy Swamp, now in an engagement right over here. You can see, though, taking fire from the side, eats a hunting rifle shot. I believe that was from the side, taking 85 damage. There's about 5 other players right around this reboot van, and you don't really want to get caught in this area. It can be really difficult to disengage through here. He eats another really big shot there. That was the charge shotgun from his opponent. 103 on the other side. He turns that fight around. Apologist Flygon. Well, apologies to you as you miss out on the first round of placement points. Everyone in the lobby getting 1, and Krej is also picking up an extra one for that elim. That's his second.
And that was such a beautiful prediction. Stumbling up to the right, because you know most players are looking for the right-handed peek. He gives himself the disadvantage with the left-handed peek, but he knew it was going to happen, so he caught that opponent off guard. The charge shot didn't go through from his opponent, had to recharge it up. In the meantime, he had that 103 tag shot, so very, very good play there for him. Now he's moving through. Placement points are gained. We do see Wolfie swallow through for Strokey, so he's going out. At least he got a placement point. We didn't see him in the elim feed, so no elims there for him. But the placement points are what matters the most in that first little bit. You're able to say, hey, you know what? I got a point in that game. Let's continue on through. Speaking of players that have an elimination and some placement points, 7 Tour. This is one of the players that's qualified for every weekend so far as shots are coming through on the passive. He gets a little surprise attack, and now he's looking to go aggressive. This should be a good elimination here for him, as there's nobody nearby. He doesn't have to worry about third parties coming down the mountain. No one's looking here on the backside. He can spin as many mats as he wants. He's got a lot of trees to farm up all around him. So a very, very, very good fight to take as he got that initial damage, and now the wall being taken. I think this is going to be the elimination here for him. That player in the box, and yes, passive did not play passive enough there.
Yeah, wasn't able to get away from the newly signed Navi player there. Nadas Vincier getting back into the Fortnite scene with a number of key European signings recently. I believe they also picked up Patrick there, but Krej is now under fire again. He has the FNCS Duos champion Andalix on the other side. Crashpad goes out, and actually really beneficial. If that was Krej's Crashpad, that was sick, because he just forced Andalix up into his other opponent. He's basically like, here, you deal with this now. And he's able to get a cheeky disengage as well. Now he's going to try and re-enter the fight from the side, and just a little bit of stroke of luck. Good timing, and hopefully he's able to kind of close this fight out now. He's able to kind of get some pressure up on the wall, has the charge shotgun on the side, edits down, gets the wall replaced, wants to close it out, but the player has already disengaged and put another box of space. Great 61 shot through the pre-edited wall, but not quite able to find it. Is well above the Storm Surge threshold. However, only 1 player will have to go down, so that pop-up should disappear shortly here if Krej is able to close this one out for his third elimination. He's desperately seeking for it, but this player's doing a good job of fending him off, and that shot's going to back him off again. But Andalex, the FNCS Duos champ that Monster had talked about, goes down to Krejci for his third elimination. He has now eliminated 10% of the players that has gone down, 3 of the 30 in his hands. But Noah Riley smells blood in the water like it's Shark Week, and he goes and he gets that one as well. He's going to end Krejci's run. He'll go down there with 4 early points, but Noah Riley is going to be the benefactor of all that loot now.
Almost the giant slayer there from Krejci. Benji and Dillix could have taken down Noah Riley. That would have been insane if he was able to do it. Going down too short, it still has got to give him confidence going in. I believe the first time we've seen him there in these round 3s as we swap over to Vostroki, who's in a back-and-forth storm battle with Tayson, is going to get the elimination. Desperately needed to, because Zone was coming in, HP was looking low. With that elimination, it is very good for him. He finds some peppers as well, and pop a big shield, grab the peppers, and start to rotate into Zone. Does have to be careful about Billy being held out, but Vostroki in a very good spot. Also, with 3 eliminations, this is shaping up to be a very, very exciting endgame.
Yeah, and a pair of back-to-back eliminations from the Ovation Esports players are Ova there, Vostroki, and Noah Riley doing a good job picking those one-ups and seeing some of the early eliminations. But now you can generally expect some of the fighting to wear down now that most of the people are in their rotations establishing themselves in zone. You can anticipate players wanting to kind of hit that next threshold. But let's talk about the format a little bit here in terms of where the points come from. Like, yes, the eliminations are going to add up, but what are players looking for in terms of succeeding? And success really looks like continued top 5 performances over and over again. You really get benefits if you're able to get in the top 3 on a consistent basis, and that's where you get rewarded. Of course, victory royales are huge as well, but you'll notice that the players who end up creeping up towards the end are the ones who are making these late games over and over again and picking up a few eliminations here and there to top it off.
The inside no stranger to that as well, has put himself in a good spot to pick some elims up, especially if that zone does end up pulling a little bit towards him. Now, with where it is, it's going to be very hard for him to pull that zone, but he does have the crash pad, so rotation should be fine. He's actually going to look to get a box on this player, and he does, and Freddy gets boxed up and eliminated quickly, and that's the Fortilla loot as well. Ocean's burst rifle and Ocean's bottomless chug jug coming in clutch there. I don't know if he's going to be able to pick the chug jug up for those slurps or the minis in his inventory, but what a heads-up play there by Jamside.
Jamside, the Virtus Pro veteran who has been around the scene for as long as there has been a scene, and honestly probably a little bit before, one of the just absolute original Fortnite players and somebody who's been at the competitive top for so long, but honestly I think really shines particularly in solos. He's very disciplined in this gameplay. He knows what it takes to succeed, and he stays up in terms of his level of mechanics and able to pressure opponents. So really well done from him as we swap on over to another Ovation Esports player here. It's Zestin, who's already has 2 eliminations as well. So some good aggressive play coming out of the Ovation crew so far.
And unfortunately, I said it. I said, save it. I want to see him do well. And unfortunately, following. But again, there's 5 games left there for them. They can turn it around. Zestin, though, in an awkward spot. He's got 2 players standing behind him. Got a player in front of him trying to hold him out. We see nice beams, so he's actually going to pick up the elimination on Dikizzy. And you talk about the Ovation players. Noah Riley picks up another elim as well. So both of them going hand in hand and hand in hand together. And elim, we'll see how they do in this mid into end game. There's the Grizzly player was rotating nearby. He actually gets out of a very awkward spot, relatively, on top. Doesn't take any damage, gets an elimination, and now he's got a free rotate in his zone.
Now we're going to hop on over here. The MCS X Squeeze. You can see Teak right on the other side. Teak just outside of the top 10 in the semifinals, but he's had probably some of the most consistent solo performances recently, both across FNCS and the DreamHack Opens featuring Fortnite. So some really good outputs out of him right now. But Exqueezy RR repping the controller gang on the side here, already sitting on elimination. Top 60 situation with the 3rd zone closing in. So not a ton of onus right now to be going out and getting any additional eliminations or damage, particularly if you already have one. That generally means you're going to be safe from Surge comparatively. As we see now, there's the 4th storm zone showing in the right-hand side there, and a lot of water in play here, as well as the center island of that lazy lake. So the key is going to be who's going to be able to establish control there ahead of time, and they're going to be able to have pressure on a lot of these other players who need to rotate in.
I was very surprised that Squeeze was looking for that elim, and now someone looking for an elim onto him. He's got to be careful because he's set up in a good spot. He's got the floppers. He's got that launch pad. He's got a lot of minis in his inventory. And he's getting aggressive, but he's getting aggressive onto Teak, and Teak is actually going to be eliminated. Another player that is qualified for every weekend round 3 moment is out of the game already.
Yeah, and that's going to be huge from Xqueezy there because he was hurting on mats. He had no hard mats at all. He had 0 metal, very little brick going through and having to burn through it. And a second elimination right there, courtesy falling right on top of Baba's head from the crash pad, is going to give him all the materials, all the floppers as well. Might as well call him Frey with that many fish in his inventory. Sitting on 8 is probably going to... No, I disagree with that, but all right, we'll see if he decides to come back and haunt him, using the 2 crash pads to get center rotation rather than just rotating through with the excess mats he had picked up from there. He's also going to take some damage over the top of that, so has an empty slot now. Interesting decision as we close in on that next placement threshold, and he is well above the Storm Surge threshold as well, so he should be big chilling. 4 more players will need to go down before that turns off.
Very good play by him to get that elim through the air on the crash pad. Just heads up, and now center zone in a good spot. He, again, has those 4 floppers. You definitely would have seen him like to take those 8 floppers, but, you know, he's leaving that open in case I think he gets some crash pads or maybe some peppers, maybe even more floppers on another elimination, because he's scouting, he's looking for anything going on. We see Noah Riley there. Flick is up there. You know, you mentioned Frey, I don't believe here, but Flick, his duo partner there carrying the torch. Steelic is here. Bad Sniper, Revscard as we pan through. We do see Kiriachi in the middle of your screen. Monster talked about him. This is his first time making it here to round 3. Looking to see a lot out of him. He doesn't really perform that well in these late stages of the tournaments, but if he's able to pop off and turn online, and he decides to go back to Slurpee Swamp, Benji's got some contention over there.
He'll have some contention. You also see Hardfind in there, a player who hasn't made finals yet, but can be an absolute beast in Europe. Also plays, I believe, out of the agency, or the authority, excuse me. Unless he has swapped off his drops out there. You can see Psycho Orb taking some damage there, but Bad Sniper, French player for Grizzly, trying to find a little bit of his own space. He did pull zone in the half in, half out. You can see in that bottom right-hand corner. When we talk in, half out, that is zone number 5. It's when the circle starts to overlap where the previous safe zone was. And then from circle 6 onward, as Psycho ends up getting picked up there with a nice cheeky little edit from Bad Sniper through the cone. Going to pick that one up. From circle 6 onward, it will be full moving zones, which means the new safe zone is always outside of where the previous one is, and that's where a lot of the real Fortnite action ends up happening. Quick edits, rotations, split-second decisions, and crazy fights happening as we see Jamside get his rotation, and Kinzel also in the lobby with the half in, half out rotation coming out. A lot of utility being used here, as you can see. Nebby taking some shots there on the side. No luck so far, and no luck indeed. No extra utility. You're going to see him do his best to play party pooper there, popping all of those crash pads, making sure players aren't able to frogger their way on over. Not going to get the little bounce they need to, but no eliminations being picked up either, and 50 players still remain, so everyone getting their second placement point.
He's in a really awkward spot on this side of zone. Luckily, he's going to be able to find elimination onto Felix, who ended up getting focused by everybody. He's going to want to go for those materials and such, but somebody already boxed up on top of him. He has to call it quits. He's got to get back into his box because he does not know where this zone is, what's left over in the match. He doesn't want to get too overcommitted to those. As you see somebody already down below, I believe Nesbit there, being a little bit of a loot goblin, grabbing those up, and is very, very low on HP as well. We swap over to show you the other side of the zone and where that is. And Sig Zone can pull anywhere there as we see someone fly through the air as we're back on board here with Xqueeze. It's going to pull north away from Nebby and towards Xqueeze. So he's in a very good spot to pick up more eliminations and more tags as players are rotating through the air.
Everyone rotating through the air, rifle up, picking up another elimination there. We're on board here with Xqueeze, sitting in the cone, looking for an opportunity to potentially pop out. Has that rare charge shotgun with a decent amount of damage. You see next zone rotation revealed. You'll see a number of crash pads and out going out. Probably players utilizing some launch pads here, as they're going to lose value later on as the circle does narrow. But Xqueeze, again, still looking for a pick. There's the launch pad going out, going to wait to try and catch up on the top of zone and actually making a play for height right now. Good job boxing up on what currently looks like ultimate, and he has plenty of materials. to hold this, as well as the floppers to go late if he needs to, but you see everyone else beginning to rotate past him as the server catches up a little bit.
With 4 elims, he's looking really good. Launchpad going to be used again. He only had 2 in his inventory. We see a lot of big names going down. Snappy, Bad Sniper going down there to Mitro. He's, though, with a really good second rotation in his own. He's going to find a tarp, and that's going to be Nebby, who unfortunately did not have any luck today. Does go down. He wants to, you see that, wants to go for the loot. Didn't want to be too greedy for it. Wanted to make sure everything was clear. All the angles were good for him. And he picks up elimination number 5. He also picks up a crash pad as well. 105 builds at this stage of the game is really good for him. He's got, I would say, more than the entire lobby. His Mitro is going to fall. He's going to have to look for that crash pad rotation. That's what he's going for. We saw him do that before. That shotgun shot up above, but he's got to be careful. Player in his box up. He's going to take down Tinsel. A huge elimination in number 6.
Number 6, he also gets a crash pad, which he'll chain into another crash pad using that forward momentum. Nope, not quite going to get that. That was actually server replay catching up, but has the 4 floppers to end up hanging out in the back of zone. Now he's going to see if he can't recycle any of those floppers. Maybe look for a late high ground play. Still has 2 more floppers, but he's being harassed from the edge of zone. Finds the crash pad, looks for the charge shotgun shot. Not quite going to get it. Puts himself in the cone. Should probably find time to pop those minis as well, but just chilling on the 88 effective HP. Kiriachi does finally go down to rifle it just outside the top 20. Deceptos picks up Thomas. HD X-Squeezer does get knocked down as Noah's Riley picks up Rafe Scarred as well. That's AR Bothel picking him up there. Brilliantly done to take it. However, Jamside still up on the high ground. Kiko, AR Bothel below him. Hardfied running the low ground in a suite of players in between. Noah Riley and Deceptos being 2 names among them. Right now, Noah Riley continuing his explosive run onto the scene. Brilliant so far through all of the FNCSs. He struggled in the first week, 84th place, but then brought it back in qualifier number 2, and now he's just bringing it permanently. 5 eliminations so far. Found a second there as well with 2A also getting ticked over. So again, top 12, almost into the top 10, which is what you're looking for out of these players.
And just dominant performances weekend after weekend after weekend there from Noah Riley. I mean, at this point, I'm not expecting anything less. On the other hand, Jamside up above. We'll see how he ends up closing it out. We saw almost losing high ground there earlier, but was able to secure it. Creox, though, a relatively unknown player to most of the European competitive scene, is doing well. 2 eliminations. He's getting almost into that top 10 threshold, which everybody's looking for. Rifla is going to fall there to a player. Jamside going to be contested there, is going to get the elimination. Very good play there for him. I believe that's going to be Deceptos going down. Creox on the backside, still just playing that zone, still just rotating, still just trying to keep his HP up. He does have floppers. He does have crash pads to make things crazy. He's got extra minis there as well in case he takes any damage. He has to recuperate it. AR Baffo up above as well. Jamside looking to get that elimination. Jamside is running out of mats. Only 14 with a nice clean shot there onto that player, taking him down. It's going to be Baffo going down. 5 eliminations here from Jamside. He's looking to close out on top. He's running out of mats. 7 builds remaining. It's going over these builds that are hardening every moment with a nice drop down there. KS Wood going to go down. Jamside with a nice shot again and again, but he's taking a lot of damage. He's got Kid Shockwave Launcher. He's trying to use it. Top 3 coming through. Last moments here. Nice shot there from Jamside, but he's not going to be able to turn it around as Cryox is going to pick up the elimination there. But a beautiful play from Jamside.
Jamside working a top down, able to find a number of eliminations there. I believe it was 6 total at the end, but Kyrox took away the victory royale at the end. And just look at that architect and the fossil. We're going to toss it back on over to the studio. Zeke, Bala, Monster, break it down for us.
Thank you guys so much for that first game. Great casting. There we go. Kyrox, Cyrox. We're not sure how to pronounce it. We're going to go with Kyrox. If we pronounce it wrong, please shoot a tweet at us so we can get it right. Congratulations, though. First victory royale on the day. Jamside, though, right there. It could have gone either way. The bling in the inventory. Mythic weapons galore. Unfortunately, though, it did not quite go his way this time. But still, second place is a massive finish. You like to see it, boys.
Yeah. And I have to question what's going on at Caddy because Jamside, a new player to this stage, the round 3, the final stage, and he's got it, and he performs well. Off of game 1, I have to wonder where he's getting it, if he got it throughout the mid-game. Freeze landing Caddy, I'm going to assume he is landing there, but there's a lot of turmoil all over the map in terms of early game and everything. This is a new day for this EU region.
That's what happens. You throw these big names in the mix, and this is happening consistently week after week, or day after day, honestly. So it's just a repeating performance at this point. When you get these new names in, your drop spots are just not safe.
That's right. And speaking of these big names, we're watching a lot of these big names fall, and a lot of these newer names we haven't seen before rise to prominence.
Yeah, that we are, and for a reason is that basically you don't really know what's going to happen day after day, especially with all stages going in on one time. So Benji Fishy has to contend with new players at his drop spot. Krej's was not here in those first 2 days where Benji Fishy was able to dominate out of Slurpy Swamps and didn't necessarily have to roll with things like Krej getting so aggressive off of the first drop. And look at what he gets off of this. Slurpy Swamps pretty much uncontested. Somebody left away. You never know. That could have been Benji in his shoes.
That is true. And on the other side, you see Reason here popping off as well, trying his best. And he's contested over Holly Hedges. Up until this point, he had the early game on lock. But OTW's Kibo is going to show up and give him the work here in a box fight. And this is not likely that you see of Reason to fall so early. So great shots from Kibo to land and be consistent here so far. You see that other perspective. Here's the edit. Here's the open up. And he was just ready for the shots to exchange.
Yeah, that he was. Reason did so well out of Holly Hedges. It's surprising because we didn't necessarily see anybody really do well out of Holly before this. But on the other side of the page, you have Teak out of Frenzy Farm doing quite well, at least to start off, but ended up getting, you know, pretty middling performance for Teak. We'll have to see if it continues. At least off spawn is doing well for him.
This is a look at Noah jumping in. Krej is a little bit of a revenge here, right? Krej dropped Benji early, and then Andilix, but not before meeting his match here. Noah walks in. It's the OVA boys who are stepping up right now. This is the Noah that we saw giving Benji a run for first place, and now new name stepping up here is Fastrokey Bella.
Yeah, and he's taking out big names as well. Wolfie's again engaged in a storm fight. For Fastrokey will have none of it though, but he goes on to come out of that and continue to frag. Tayson right there in a fight with Toby. Fastrokey comes and steals it and then continues forward. These guys were all dominating out of the OVA group, and Noah continued to go, but it wasn't just Fastrokey, even though he'll take out the German-speaking foe of Tayson on the other side as well. Definitely really nice stuff from him in the storm. Does not care. There's the last shot. Well done. And still, mid-game fights continued.
That's what I wanted to mention, right? It's just the names they're taking. They're taking nothing but slayers out of the field here. You're going to see some Zeston on Arion action. Here's another look from Zeston. Again, pushing into these box fights. These are all mid-game aggression, right? Early to mid-game, just dominating right now. Catching the bulk of the eliminations as far as the action goes for the opening segments. Here's Zeston's perspective again, right? Already on 2 limbs, and then stomping on through, jumping into any action that he can get his piece of. And for Zone 3, taking fights in the mids right here, this is all impressive performances. Before we rounded out with Noah, Noah just went wild in this game.
That he did, and the entire OVA organization, all the different players on all sorts of different parts of the map have mid-game fights, but Noah is the man who played so well, had the epic duel against Benji Fishy to close things out. Unfortunately fell just shy 4 points of taking that day 2 win. But in the end game is where he gets activated, and this is a good start for the man who got a 7 elim game and an 8 elim game back to back in day 2, the last weekend.
That's right, guys. So many of these big players coming, rising, making names for themselves. You know, some of these players we even saw last week, right? Like Noah. Now, my question is, with all this momentum, where can these players find themselves on the leaderboard? Because that's going to be the ultimate storyteller on the day, is who is looking to qualify in that top 50 range. Let's take a look together and see who holds the #1 spot. I got to assume it's Cyrox there with the Victory Royale. Again, if we're pronouncing your name wrong, we truly apologize. 18 points, 4 eliminations, and the Victory Royale. Jam side, though, and Noah Riley with a solid placement, 6 and 5 eliminations respectively, are right behind him.
Yeah, and the one thing here, Noah, obviously we saw the mid-game elims that he had. The rest of the organization OVA that we kind of highlighted in that, sure, they might have gotten a bunch of elims mid-game, but they're not even in the top 10 because of how risky those fights are and what a position they will put you in. I mean, we saw Fastrokey in 2 storm fights back-to-back will make you pay when you get close to the end game, which is where you need to be. So mid-game fights don't necessarily pay off.
Here's your second page. You see Mitro stepping up for 18th. Not too bad. And towards the top, though, to work way up. Big names here. Thomas pulling through. Hard find, right? These are all guys with 1 to 2 to 3 elims, but it's the placement points that's the difference maker here across the board. Deceptos, Hardfine, and Baffo are the ones that are going to stand out right now, but it's a tie. It's a tie all the way up into the first page, right? 10 points being and keeping it nice and tight up there.
Taking a look at the next set, we got Milan, 23rd, right there, pushing on through Kinzel Kiriachi. That's someone that you guys called out as perhaps not doing well in set lobbies, and here we go. First game, he's holding 30th, and he's holding it well, but we still have 5 more games to go, guys. Right now, I mean, with only 5 points, I don't know how long that's going to hold.
Yeah, but Zeke, it's a good sign, I think, for Kiriachi. 0 elims, and he still has 5 points. That means he made it pretty deep into that placement game. He made it into endgame and made it into the moving zones, at least 7th or 8th to get the 5 points that he accrued in that one. So I think that's actually a good sign. He's not doing the W key. He's not going for a bunch of elims throughout the mid game. In my mind, that might be Kiriachi finally activated in set lobbies.
And I wanted to jump on that, yes, because the old Kiriachi we saw, he'd land at the old lodges, and he'd push straight into the swamps, take fights down by the rig. So if he's pulling placement right now, I think that's a great sign for Kiriachi.
Well, guys, with 5 games left to go, we'll see if he can hold strong. Let's get ready to send it back over to Clay and Sundown to get us into game number 2 of EU. Take it away, guys.
Thank you so much, Zeke, Balla, Monster. Fantastic analysis. Clay, you ready for match number 2?
Oh, I am ready, and I think all the players are ready as we see that map come in where everybody is dropping. Benji contested yet again down there at Slurpee. We see Caddy Corner, only 2-3 players there as well. Not as many as I would have thought coming into Europe.
I'm more surprised, honestly, that there's 5 players in the Northwest up by Coral Castles. That's just ridiculous to me. There's no way there's enough loot to support that many people up there. But right now, if Tayson, the player from E11, trying to find a shot here, getting a little bit of a third-party action. 33 as well as a 49 headshot with the AR right into the box, and Samtosh going to be taken down. Good disengage from Tayson as well. Does take 90 damage there, but has the 4 chug splashes as well as a big pot. He's going to try and put a little bit of space here to top back off, but then I anticipate him to probably dive back in and test his opponent here.
That was a beautiful recognition there from Tayson to realize I have to get out of those boxes. It's not mine. I'm going to be pressured. Now that pressure going back onto the enemy player, he's going to be able to pick up some of that loot that he eliminated that player for and back out. He says, you know what? I got some chug splashes. I'm good. I got my elimination. I'm going to disengage. I got my early game point that I wanted. I got my early game match that I wanted. Now I'm going to go back on my rotation, farm up, and I'm good to go. As we're over to Misty Meadows, we hadn't seen this perspective, but Milan Osvan looking to get engaged with Diablo here as he's looking to get a little sneak attack going, looking for that early beam into that box site that we all know is going to happen. And there it is, a 99 tag, and the aggression is just going to continue to come out here for Milan. A player trying to continuously move up and create layers. Milan matching those layers perfectly. Ooh, the nice cone, but he's not going to get all of it. He wasn't able to get into the player's box. They continue pressure from the attack, and that Diablo is just going to let him in.
Lets him right on in. No need to blow the house down at all. The front door is wide open, and real good use of that tac shotgun to kind of pressure the walls. We talk about the high rate of fire and its ability and just kind of a little bit more versatility in the box fights. And the kind of disadvantage comes for just the anti-one-shot potential that the charge shotgun then will have. What we see here, you can see that format fly in real quick, just how heavily weighted it is towards later placements and maintaining in, outlasting the first 25 players, and then it's sets of 10 till we get in. But going down there is Kira on the end of Gambit 2, so the Gambit player will have caddy control, and now has Kit's Mythic Charge Shotgun as well as Kit's Mythic Shockwave Launcher, so going to be looking for as many rockets as he can, wants to get up to that 13 cap, but all alone and good domination there. As we swap on over to Navi's newest signing, 7 Taurus in a box fight here, but less of a box fight, more of a crash pad in fight. 60 damage goes through right away, and he finds the follow-up. B Junius Jules, not quite genius enough there as she goes down.
Very, very good tracking from 7 Taurus. Jules had the better shotgun in that engagement, the epic variant of the attack. There's a lot more damage when you're able to hit your shots, but 7 Taurus tracked him perfectly over the top of the head, was able to get the good shots and get the elimination. That is a very, very heads up for them. Again, one of the players has made it every day of round 3, continuously putting forward time and time again these great performances. And we're now in a fight with Fadil. We saw go down relatively early that last game. I think picked up a lot of eliminations barely, and he plays with the crash spreads coming through. We saw this a lot last weekend because of Mr. Savage. He really popularized how these players are getting in with these boxes from these different angles. The wall's going to get taken. This player trying to make the charge, but again, that tack, when it's that legendary tack versus a green or a blue shotgun, it's just going to outperform in those situations.
Honestly, I think the legendary attack just outperforms pretty much any other close-range gun right now, particularly if you're able to use it aggressively while taking the walls, as you can see Vadil do right there, and a good resolution in that fight. So now the fights continue going as we try and catch all of the early game action. Here's Supremacy Kizix trying to find a fight here right on the edge of this lodge. Lots of natural cover in here, and a good 180 shot there. This Krej is going down, so not going to repeat his early game success last time, going down there. And a good pickup from Kizix, but he knows there's somebody else here. 43 on that headshot, 67 there as well. Knows he's been working at least to the shield, but he also took a little bit, so he's going to be forced to back off and reset. That's Zeston just over the top of him, the Ovation Esports player who had some pretty good damage, but he's backed way off. He has no effective HP. He does not want this fight at all, and it feels like Kizix is on the hunt.
That was a very early rotation from Krej as well, all the way out of Slurpee. Zone is just over halfway moving in. Interesting to catch that eye. Ooh, Fadil is going to get taken down there by Steelix with a nice snipe right there in Salty. What an elimination. He got that elimination, not able to get the loot, but he's on his way. It is Kiriachi, however, who is back to his natural playstyle of being very, very aggressive. Unfortunately for him, not able to get the elimination, but maybe that's a good thing. He got the rewards from the elimination. Now he's able to just to calm down a little bit, able to play more for that in-game style that Balla talked about.
I'm sure he would have loved the point, though. Like, I think any time in that situation, walking away without the elim when you have somebody chased is really unfortunate, but Steelix is picking that one up regardless with the hunting rifle headshot. So we hop on board here with Axe Force trying to snag away that slurpfish right on the edge, but he's under pressure. Things could get awkward real quick here. He's going to pop that slurpfish, but he needs to have enough time to even get it, and his opponent's not doing that. They are on the edge of zone. He has plenty of shields, but this is just a weird fight to be taking. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do, though. Both players looking a little desperate in this situation as the box fight kicks off. 71-28 comes through. Third tag as well. 3 back-to-back shots from Axe Force. Some good damage. 24 white. And NXS Andy looking a little bit lost there as Axe Force picks up that fight, picks up the elimination, and closes in on that top 75 first placement threshold.
I had to play there from Axe Force to realize, hey, he edited that ramp on a wall that I own. Now I can go in and just easily edit that one and get the elimination. So very heads up play there. Again, in the zone, though, did go a little bit overboard for that slurpfish, but it ended up being a net gain from it as we're now over to another big fight. Kizzy versus Rezon. Rezon, did very well, but boxed up there and there's nowhere to go. Rezon is not looking like the same Rezon that he did in the last weekend's qualifiers.
Yeah, a little bit less pace coming out of him so far. He's generally been able to kind of get himself established early on, and that's when he has success. But if he's not able to do that, it's going to be a lot harder to see him charge up the leaderboard. He's not necessarily the player who's going to have that really big elimination victory royale game. He's capable of doing it, but it's much more common you're going to see consistent top 5 placements in a couple victory royales here. You can see Game 1 winner Cyrox did not have a single elim or top 25 finish in Week 1, so really well done from him to kind of change up the pace a little bit here. So we hop on board. Top 75 is done. 1 point for everyone who is still left in the lobby as a quarter of the players have gone down.
That is insane that he's able to churn up that much, get eliminations, and get that victory royale as well. So this really shows a testament to these players realizing that I've only got 2 more days to possibly get here and then maybe qualify through consistency. But he said, you know what, I'm going to come out today, I'm going to come out swinging, and I'm going to make sure I get a good first game. And then from here, he can continue to play his game for in-game, continue to pop off. We saw him play a hard rotation, not look for really any elims until that top 10, top 5 moment. We saw him get that elimination on a jam side and pick up the dub. And this is exactly what he needs to do. What is concerning about him, though, is he's only 53 damage above Storm Surge. You really want to be sitting about that 100, 150 range, and he's going to need to get some tags. As we're back over to Caddy Corners, it doesn't look like the fight's just done.
Yeah, this is what happens when you're in catty corner. Every player and their mother and their grandmother, probably their uncle, a long-lost cousin or two, wants to try and third-party this loot, catch you as you're rotating through. You can see 4 players now rotating through this area, but Toos is the one they're looking to hunt. He has plenty of shields, though, in all the mythic loadouts. However, Big Shot ends up coming out down to 84 HP, looking to hold an angle with the mythic charge. Might opt to disengage, but he owns a lot of walls here, trying to find a cheeky little shot, but not quite going to get it. Now going to be forced to burn through some of those chug splashes. I don't know if I agree with burning exactly through all that and then going and taking the engage, but he's going to use 5 total, get himself back up to 164 effective HP. Tries to use the shockwave to get in, not quite going to get it. Counter crash pad comes through, but the counter crash pad is actually just a delivery system to give Toos all the loot and another point there. Going to get some more chug splashes out and just continue himself on down as we hop on over here to Noah Riley,
who is getting beamed up there. Luckily, a third party did come in to save his HP just a little bit. Now, the mutual shield off has occurred. They're both popping minis. Could both go for the big shield, but Noah wants to secure a little bit more footing here, a little bit more real estate, trying to keep that pressure up. I think the other player just concerned. Ooh, the crashback coming in. Noah Riley is going to get a stare over the top, but that player going to go down. Nice trance there from Noah, but he's got to be careful on this diagonal again. Player just went for it, and he made the edit, but Kiko going to take advantage of that and get the elimination.
Yeah, he talked about it. He had to be careful on the angle. Kiko able to get that nice little reverse peanut butter edit, gave him the right hand and only the feet to look at. Hits a huge headshot going on there. No need to jump and expose himself, but unfortunate for Noah Riley going down there, and that's the danger of taking those early fights in the aggressive playstyle. Yes, it can pay off, but the same player who's rotating safely, making good decisions, and getting himself into the top 30 is getting the same number of points as you, and that's just how the cookie's going to crumble if you're not able to take these engagements and rack them up, which what makes these aggressive playstyles just so difficult here. So now we hop on over here with XL Wolfdog, aka Wolfie's the player from XL, the young English lord, pushes in and takes down Edison, who we saw have a pretty strong qualifier number 2 last week, but Wolfie's looks like he's starting to get a little bit more of a rhythm as of late. It feels like he's been playing a little bit more of himself with a little bit more confidence, a little bit more of that swagger that really kind of personifies his gameplay.
And this is a similar situation we saw in Qualifier 2, is that he was low on mats, low on HP in his inventory, low on shields as well, and he needed to make a play, and that's exactly what he just did there. Got aggressive, got into the box, and made a play. Now he's still low on HP in the inventory, shields, floppers, chug splashes, you name it. He doesn't have it in his inventory. He's going to have to find something or find another elimination. If we know Wolfie's is more likely going to be another elimination. Now back over to Kiko's perspective, who took a lot of damage there from behind and from that third party. There's 2 other players here. They're both looking to get this elimination on the Kiko. In 16 points, we saw just take down O'Reilly. A nice little phase through of the stair. Is going to get him a head tag there, but not going to give him a lot of room to work with as the shots go back and forth. Kiko on very low HP. He's going to have to make a really big charge play. He can get the 1 elimination here. It's enough damage to get this player out, but he misses it. No, he hits it. He hits the shot and the follow-up on the pistol.
Super unfortunate there. Kiko able to turn that run around and just honestly abusing the impatience of his opponents, launch padding to try and get back into the zone, but in no rational situation should he ever get out of there, let alone pick up that elim. The player could have just waited, knew he had the 2-tick zone on top of him, but opted to then push in as we hop on over to Grizzy Bad Sniper, who's posted up right on the edge of the zone as we pull over Lazy Lake again. That's 2 games in a row. We're heading down kind of towards that southern side of the map. Everyone from Caddy having a relatively safe rotation, but not a lot of real estate that players could really establish. You could see Arion and Celix are both picking up elims there as we close in on our top 60 players. 65 left, 3rd zone. So definitely some Storm Surge potential coming through here in game number 2.
And in almost a similar position as last game, a little bit more eastward here on this lake area and this new boating area we saw with the introduction of the season. And it's going to continue to pull more towards Caddy. So Toos, who we saw had a lot of fights early at Caddy, even into the mid-game, has got a very solid rotation. He does have Kit's Mythic Shockwave Launcher in his inventory. He doesn't have to use that with how he's positioned. As you see Bad Sniper looking to cause a little bit of an explosion over there, trying to open that up. He forced one of those players to use a launch pad that he could recycle. He does have 6 crash pads, but no launch pad in the inventory means he wants to try to save those for that moment of, hey, I've got nothing left. Let me try to launch pad out. We see a lot of players start to rotate out. We see Cryox right there in the middle. Keswick's up above. He did end up picking the elimination up onto Kiko as they tried to rotate through. But Bat Sniper's just sitting here chilling. He's trying to surveil the area, find out as much as he can before he makes his move. And there you go. Finds an elimination right there onto Diox. And that's what he was looking for. He was sitting up, waiting, and hunting his prey.
And you can see he's going to pop a pepper right before popping a crash pad to try and disengage. However, Virtus Pro Kiriachi, 32, closing in on Bad Sniper right away, going to harass him off a little bit. Bad Sniper going to be forced out. You see Wave Steelix go down right in the background shot there. We got Artur over here fighting off with another one of the Ovation Esports players. And another player over to the side in a 1v1 going down here. Let's zoom in as we see Frostroki trying to put the pressure onto Artur. Only has the rare tack in, the common tack in 6 shots left in it. So he's going to have to be able to push through as we wait for the server to catch up there. And he is going to find that one. Artur going down. Spen also picking up Benji outside of the top 50. So have not hit that second placement threshold quite yet. And Benji Fishy going down as well. You can see Flick now also trying to make a rotation through. Teak still up in the lobby after his early exit last game. MCSX Squeezy finds a great shot onto Snappy. He gets sent back to the lobby in a little 180 there. Going to Flick take that down, make sure he pops the crash pad and get as much of this loot as possible, which he desperately needs. He needs as many hard mats because he's really struggling in terms of metal. Only 65 there.
What a find as well. I think just trying to crash pad into zone. Happens to get right there and takes advantage of it. As we're now rotating through onto Flick, who I believe just picked up elimination himself, but he's got a player down below who's getting elimination. This player has all the walls edited. I believe that's going to be Matzo there down below, and Flick looking to pick up the elimination, and he is going to catch Matzo off guard there. And look at the weapon upgrade he's getting. He can even drop his cabbages there for the big shields as well. He's got a lot to work with, more crash pads, a sniper if he wants to. This is what Flick needed to turn online this game.
50 players remaining, which means everyone getting a point. Also, Storm Surge not going to be infect for circle number 5. We have our half in, half out reveal. We'll see who is forced to use their utility on this rotation. We're pulling a little bit more towards the northeast side of the lake, so a number of players will have to move, and we'll see when they decide to move. Flick now is going to start trying to tunnel in a little bit, work back and see how much of these extra resources and builds he has. It's mostly going to be spare brick and wood, so he's going to use that to try and tunnel in, get as close to zone as possible, and begin his crash pad rotation. Shouldn't necessarily be looking for a pick because he's in a spot where he's all set up, and instead, yep, just going to crash pad in. Not quite able to find the other crash pad to chain it together, but we'll wait for the server to catch up and see where he lands, and where he lands is directly on top of Iwa. And Iwa going back and out of this game here as Flick now picks up his 4th elimination. English player for Wave doing incredibly well right now.
And Cryox on that rotation went down as well. So our game number 1 winner is out of the game. They ended up going down to Keswick, who's been very, very good this game. Has gotten a lot of eliminations, and we'll see if he continues it up. With that game under his belt, he can start to make his way towards that top 50, towards the top even 10 as we swap over to High Ground, who is Toos and did not have to rotate very far from his initial landing at Caddy Corner. Does have that Kit's Mythic Shockwave launcher, but only 5 rockets in it. He's going to have to find an impact frag, maybe someone trying to contest their high ground that he's able to pick up their loot at. Right now, he's sitting pretty. He's waiting for this zone to come through, and he's just looking to get eliminations. And as we see, an elimination onto Kiriachi is going to come through, so able to make it into those placement points, but it's just not where he wants to be. As someone on top of Toos is going to get boxed up, and that's going to be another elimination there for Toos, sitting on number 3, Tireless going down.
When we talk about Kiriachi picking up placement points, going down in 42nd is super rough because that next placement point coming through would have been in the top 40 after 10 more players had fallen. So only getting 2 placement points for all of that effort. He's going to go back and have to watch this end game, figuring out what he could have ended up doing better. Now as we're on board here, C1 Resty L trying to find a little bit of an angle here. Does have the rare burst, so if he's able to chain together some shots, he could potentially do a lot of damage, but just going to opt to go into zone. You can see Storm Surge is in play. 8 players will need to go down. Resty is one of them who's currently under pressure. 31 players below. You can see on the right side, drops in the box. Not going to find one, but gets the revenge right away onto Slide Mason. There's now 35 players remaining. You hear all the crash pads bouncing, everyone going off, trying to use whatever utility they can. So we swing over to the wide, and we see all of those builds pop in. That's everyone trying to do what they can and use everything left to traverse over this water. And we see a number of people playing tadpole on the low ground while everyone else is bouncing around on the mid. And who has the ultimate high? It's XL's Wolf Dog.
Wolfies win from getting mid-game eliminations to taking high ground. But right now, we're concerned about Tayson. If he's going to be able to get out of the spray, he is in zone. He does have a good amount of mats, and those crash pads are there for him. But where is zone going to pull? It's actually going to pull back towards him, and this is really good. He's got a nice rotation in, actually away from him there. As a player down below, he's got to be careful. Player on top, and that's going to be Flick going down. A heads-up play by Tayson to get that elimination. The loot upgrade as well. Still very, very, very far to go. It's still top 25 players remaining with 4 eliminations. He's grass padding into zone, almost going to land on top of a player, and it almost looks like he may be able to contest high ground here if he wants to.
Yeah, Mitro, Jam Side, all following in that rotation right outside the top 25. Orion picks up FaZe Martaz fan, a.k.a. FaZe Martaz, LOL. Nice name. As we hop back on board here with E11's Tayson up on the high ground, nearing in on top 20. Over Orion going down just outside of it. You can see now Tayson trying to convert on all of it. We have our top 20. As Crown ends up going down right there, and Tayson onto his number 5 elimination right now, and zone is actually going to pull back towards him, so good priority and good opportunity for him to find more as Squeezy picks up another elimination. Toos now up on the high ground, and we see Bayer on the backside of the zone. A number of players opting to crash pad in front of zone. Tayson being one of them, him and Squeezy in the same box, but puts a box in between him, uses the tug splashes, uses a crash pad to disengage, find his own layer. Toos picks up Kinzo, Wrestle picks up Frizzy, Hardfind picks up Light, and one more player will go down. Then we'll have our top 10, and those placement points will really begin to start ticking over.
And Tayson going to be the one to do it there. Naito going down, 6 eliminations here for Tayson. We're starting to see EU ramp up. This could be one of the first days we see double-digit performances here in round 3. Squeeze is going to take down Rocky. Intech will go down to Restiel. Tayson, Toos up there as well on the high ground. Squeeze and Dillix. Hardfind, Lindgreen, your last remaining players here. As Hardfind is going to have to make a very, very interesting play as he's dropping down. RPG's going through. And unfortunately, he's going to fall. Tayson going to get another elimination, I think, but he's going to fall as well. Toos up above. We'll be able to rain fire with that mythic shockwave launcher and that mythic charge shotgun there. He is running out of build traver. He's going to need to pick up an elimination and needs to end this game quickly because it's over water, but those builds falling down going to do a lot of damage. And also has to be careful he doesn't shockwave down onto a crash pad, because we've seen that come out of Europe before. Last couple of zones coming through here, and Dillix not very healthy, needs to make a play onto Lindgreen if he wants to make something happen. Resty dropping on down is going to be the benefactor of that. He actually doesn't take any fall damage. I was worried he was going to fall down, but all the builds being broken in a very good spot underneath everything. He's got builds. He's playing like he's got none to play on the other side. This is going to be an easy edit onto him, and Dillix trying to make a play is going to go down. Resty going to be the one to do it, and he's made a play. Only Lindgreen and Toos remaining in this game. It's coming down to, it could come down to heal off, and it would go over to Resty. He's got the most HP, unless one of these players above has floppers, unless someone of them gets an elimination, as Toos is now starting to drop down. Lindgreen going to go down to Resty, and now Toos has to make a play to get into the box. He doesn't have mats. He still has rockets in that shockwave launcher. He could go in, and that's what he's going to try to do. Into the zone. He's going to be able to pick it up onto Resty.
A nice little Mitro classic there. Mitro did it from top down. Toos did it from forward back. Doesn't matter from which direction. The shockwave, a powerful tool right there. Monster, Bala, Zeke. That was pretty disgusting, right?
Man, that takes me way back. Mad props to Toos there coming in with the Victory Royale. Something to note here is that last game placed 97th. This game, game 2 said, you know what? Last game was a fluke. Victory Royale. Let me go ahead. Let me get that ball. What do you think? I mean, you know?
Hey, that's the difference between having the kit shockwave launcher or not, right? That's the difference between actually fighting off spawn. Last game, he fell to, I believe it was Thomas HD who was actually contesting them over there, which, you know, it's a rough start, but that's the nature of that drop spot. You're either fighting and getting kit, or you're not and going down early.
Let's just talk about he's the one who got the kit and ran through it with the end of the game. We see a lot of people end up losing that mythic loot, right? Like Lost in a Sauce come mid-game, and all of a sudden you have the best weapon out of your inventory. But to go from 0 to 20 points, that was massive for Toos.
That's right. You know he's feeling real good about that last victory royale. But that being said, guys, there's a lot of stuff happening in the minigame. A lot of these fights are just going different ways. Let's talk about some of that happening.
Yeah, definitely. Let's start it off with Mitra, right? Someone who's been struggling to even qual on through and make it in, but all of a sudden, he prides himself, right? We know he prides himself in being a WK-style warrior. He's stepping up to the plate this time around. And it's also Tayson, right, in the early game, too. It's E11's Tayson just fragging off the bat as well, and then catching that air draft. But this is what's going to be interesting. As he comes in, he spots a fight off in the distance, hits that hard nosedive before setting up for the full-on engagement. And it's right here. Look at how he blocks his line of sight, swings on over, and then watches with the sniper. And it's the patience here, Bala. He does not snap until he knows he's going to connect with a couple shots. Watch how it plays out right here. This is him stepping up, sneaking up, and then he doesn't quite find the opportunity here. He's going to swap over to that trusty AR and just hit the true beams down right now. And there it is, the full connection. Takes the box fight.
But he was so hungry for this from the time he was in the air. Well done from him.
Here's a Mitro setup right here that we were talking about as well, right? That mid-game fight, stepping into the box, hits the crash pad down, and we know right here the pause frame, because it's the new tactic, entering in through the rooftop, right? Popularized by Martos here. It's similar to the way you enter in with the RPG, and it doesn't disorient the player that's fighting. It allows you to keep your aim and keep your tracking on point. That's why Mitro's able to just walk through Razor right here from Grizzy.
Yeah, but so close for Mitro. Yes, the trade goes in, but 32 HP is what he's left with. He will dance it away. That's the style of Mitro. But another player was W King. Kha'Zix, who started this game with only 8 points, ends up getting something like 5 elims in this one. Starts off by getting a surprise catch on the player right there in the basement of that house in this box fight that unfolded throughout Weeping Woods. Well done from him to catch that little wall edit with the build print out so we can get that extra range as the player's running away and trying to reverse stare on the backside. But then going into this building, it's a chase, right? He might find a couple more, but he'll try to come and surprise him. It's Kredges, who we saw take out Benji, and the last one saw do so well. But he'll follow up even further outside of this building, knowing how to fight in Weeping Woods. These very, very close angles. And the best thing about this is he stays slow. We saw, obviously, Tayson with the patience. For Kha'Zix, it's the same thing. Not really going over aggressive with the builds and trying to control every single wall or anything like that, like we saw Mitro, because it's a lot more of a confined space.
Not only that, he's just picking up these frags, right? He's finding the opportunities that are unfolding. These players didn't even have shield. He's just stomping through the most opportunistic moments. So this is the game where Kha'Zix really swings up and makes something big.
Yeah, and he's been doing that time and time again. I believe this is one of our triple qualified players for everything. And there, that final elim. He does go on to get one more in the end game and also place somewhere within that top 30. 2 games in a row now he's done good placement games, at least in the mediocre end, right? It's not necessarily top 10, but top 20. That is getting you a certain amount of points. And if you're W King like that early on, it doesn't really matter. If you add on to that, you will push yourself way up the standings.
Speaking of standings, let's take a look together and see where things are going for a lot of these players. That last game, especially for someone like Toos who picked up the Victory Royale, where could he be finding himself? Placing 97th before, 0 points, now ending the game. He does have the 20, so he's finding himself in 4th. And Squeezier, excuse me, my brain just stopped working there, tied for 1st place. Now the eliminations are what's putting him just ahead.
Yeah, and he had basically 2 really good games. First game, 6 eliminations, and second game, 4, but also the 6th place in that game. Zeke, like you said, that's why he's in 1st, but it's still close because nobody's really starting to find their identity besides maybe Squeeze. Everybody else, maybe Nido too, has gotten a 10th place and a 4th place. That's consistency that might end up winning you the tournament, but it's only 2 games down, so everybody else still needs to find their identity in this tournament.
I wanted to give a little love to Tayson there too, though. 8th place, we saw those early game frags. He's consistent. He's been consistent since FNCS Solo Invitational. Let's not forget he came 5th there as well. So he's someone who he's always in the question, maybe not in 1st when it comes to the top 10 standings, but he is there, and he's doing that again this time around. I think he's shaping out to be one of the stronger solo players on the scene.
Here we go. We see the point value. So let's not forget, last week, 21 points was the cutoff to make it in the top 50. Right now, we're already seeing a pretty decent spread, right? 10 points all the way out as far as 30th. I mean, if this continues to pick up, I feel like we may see a new that number, that original 21, rise a little bit, because I feel like a lot of these guys, they're bringing their A game today.
Yeah, that they are. I mean, we're all the way down to 40th right now. It's 8 points. 50th stands at 7 right now, so 21 seems to be the pace again. Regardless, though, you see some of the guys that we've been kind of highlighting a little bit. Strokey starts to middle at 40th place. Yes, he's got some points with the elims and the, a couple of points per game for placement, but still not pushing all the way up like we see his teammate or org mate from Ovation Esports, Noah Riley, who's still up there but fell early in that game.
Did happen. You hate to see it, but it's okay. We still have 4 games left, and it is the top 50 that will be moving on to heats next week. And I got to say, I'm very impressed with a lot of these players, especially in game number 2. You would assume that a lot of players would just send it, but showing that restraint, showing that they want to play for that long game will pay off. With that being said, guys, we're getting ready to hop into the next game, so let's send it back over to Sundown and Clay to get us into game number 3.
As always, gentlemen, fantastic analysis and a great breakdown of match number 2 and what has come so far. But now we're closing in on the halfway mark. Match number 3 underway as we're hopping in. Players are off the battle bus, and honestly, I'm excited to see how this shakes out, because looking at that leaderboard and comparing it to what we saw last week, we had a couple people who had pushed out and were able to kind of take the leader and kind of be that like pace setter at the top. Now 24 points is the top, and we're looking at kind of 40th being 8, 12 points, just being able to push up and kind of get onto that first page and get yourself in the top 10. It's really wide open right now, both in terms of qualification and the number 1 spot. Estena finds some great beams early on there, going to follow it up with more white tags and going to knock off Hexpros, and that's going to be an elimination for him. 6 points so far.
And I'm now only 6 points away from that top 40. You did 12, simple math there, it'll do it. And he's got a good rotation. Has to be careful that player coming over the top. Is it a good spot as well? A lot of brick here, a lot of metal as well. You can farm up. I believe that pontoon boat that rotates around the map is there as well. As we move over to Seventor, who's on the backside of the map as well, being very aggressive yet again. Now, again, he's qualified for every day of the round 3s that we've had. This is not looking like the same Seventor that we've seen. Usually seen him more towards those end games. As shot's going to come through. That SMG spray not going to connect. Seventor's shot is going to connect. He's going to connect on another shot as well. The continued pressure. This player trying to get away. They're trying to hide in their own boxes, but Seventor keeping the pressure up. They're running out of mats as well. They're going to have to end this quickly as the rats through the builds are coming through. Vadil falling as well. Seventor looking for any opportunity he can. This player he's chasing is just barely getting out. The SMG spray comes through, and he takes a lot of damage, but he does take down Arcanix.
And a good job from Seventor to keep up the pressure. Again, we talk about kind of the rate of fire on the attack. You can see it there, and just able to kind of keep bullets going over and keep the opponent. And particularly early on in the game, when you don't have a ton of builds, you're not able to really just put these full tarps and full boxes in between you, because as soon as you start doing that, you're going to burn through all of your resources and get caught with no utility. And you saw him get his hand forced, tried to close the gap with the SMG, but good accuracy coming out there. But now over to fight Kizix. This is right over the side of the Gorgeous Gorge. 3 chests in this house, so very common to see a number of players who will land here. Also, decent amount of brick and metal nearby. However, there is a player just right over at the cabin and the fallen ghost base to the side. So Don't Care Tan is going to have to wrap up this fight quickly against Kizix. But Kizix, we saw last game, was taking names.
And he's already taken one, looking to take another. That wall going to be taken in a safer as well. The edit comes through. The fishy was looking for the edit, but Kizix was ready. The shots continuously coming through. The pressure is just too much for this player to bear. Kizix, though, decides, I'm going to stay back a little bit. I'm not going to overcommit. Anything could happen at that amount of HP. 120 effective HP is not that high. It could go in the other player's favor. Trying to keep the pressure up, and exactly if he didn't take that, he would have been down even lower, and the pressure would have been back onto him. With the edits coming through, he will be able to get the shots and the spray on. Time is back and forth it goes, and Kizix is going to go down.
You can't challenge a charged shotgun at that distance. Typically, yes, if that had been a pump, if that's attack at any other meta, you're fine. 3-4 boxes away and spraying with the AR. But that epic charge shotgun, if you're able to get the charge and put it over, that is more than capable of putting out those kind of big 50 and 60 tags that you see there in Tyne, able to chain 3 of them together and bring back a fight he probably shouldn't have won. But now with all those resources back up to 100, he's going to be on his way, as now we're on board with here. TDR Air we saw a pretty solid game out of him. Right now sitting on 18 points. Currently in 9th place going into this game. A nice little 20 shield tag. Has some Marauders on his side, storming the beaches as well. So a little bit of assistance is going to come through here. He wants to keep his distance and make sure the Marauders stay aggroed on top of that player and don't swap back over to him. He's going to try and capitalize on this right now.
Sometimes the third party doesn't even have to actually be a player there, as Nido is the one being stunk, is the one being third-partied by Bafo and the Marauders. He's going to have to eliminate those, and so he does. He gets the pressure off from the Marauders, but Bafo is going to go aggressive. He's got a crash pad to get in if he wants to, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Fall right in. The player right there in front of him. Nido going to try to make something happen, but Bafo was just too ready too soon.
Nido going down there. There's a player who is in second, 2 top 10 finishes, a 4th and a 10th, and it will be taken down courtesy of the Marauders and some good pressure from Ira Bafo, pushing himself further up the leaderboard. Again, that was 2nd place versus 10th going on so far, so we talk about it particularly as we get in these later games, how each one of these interactions not only has direct impact on the players, but a larger impact on the story and the leaderboard itself. So we swap on over here to Avesta Kira. He's the one rocking out with Kit's loot this time.
And he got it, I believe, by eliminating Toos. So Toos was eliminated early in this game. He is out, going from winning the game into being eliminated early. Kira, the one to do it, and now he's got Kit's Shockwave Launcher to make that high ground play like we saw Toos do, as we see that format fly, and that's what you're looking for. 75th right now, so everybody that goes down is not getting placement points, is not earning that first initial point to set them in motion. Kira looking to continue that reign with the Shockwave Launcher for this game. He hasn't had any of the other games, but this game able to capitalize on the elimination onto Toos. We'll have to see how he plays it towards the late game. If he plays a little bit too high too early, may see him run out of mats, or he does what everyone else does, wait till that 6 zone, then Shockwave zone up, takes it, and goes for the victory.
Now swapping on over here to Steelix, as again, zone is pulling towards the central and south of the map. Authority in play, Lazy Lake in play, Gorgeous Gorge in play. Lots of little areas here. Steelix, ooh, Alex going down there. Not sure if he ate a hunting rifle shot or he's just walking around at about 20 effective HP. Yep, right as I say that, another hunting rifle bullet ends up coming through here. So probably was able to catch that one with his teeth right as Steelix was able to get another shot and becomes the benefactor of that. You can see a bunch of Marauder loot also down on the ground there. Steelix is now just going to continue on his way through a nice little rotation. So sometimes, you know, you have to do all the work to pick up the elimination. Sometimes you just throw a medium bullet over there and you get it. As now Wolfies is throwing a whole bunch more than medium bullets at whoever he's fighting here. Has both that legendary SMG and a rare tactical shotgun. So plenty of ability to kind of keep up spray here. I believe that's Podsai he's fighting against. Yes, it is the MCES player on the back foot right now, dealing with a charge shotgun. So it's going to be precision against just raw rate of fire here. And honestly, I'm a little scared for Podsai. It's going to take a monstrous charge shotgun shot to turn this around.
Then he can do it if Wolfies decides to overcommit. And that's exactly what he's doing. The shot's coming through, but he wasn't able to hit a good tag. And Podsai goes down, and that is a textbook Wolfies. First zone, we see early game eliminations when he needs them. Only 38 builds from Wolfies. He's going to need to continue pushing players to get to where he needs to be for that in-game loot, but that was pretty much textbook. Get in the box with that legendary SMG there and just spray. He was able to hit all his shots and pick up the elimination.
Yeah, man, sub 50 builds right now is going to be a big struggle. He's going to want to pick up as many as he can. Hopefully he's able to get an impact elimination to get that utility back up. Does have a launch pad, but no crash pads, which means it's going to be relatively exposed because the launch pad, you kind of need a little bit of resources on the backside if you're chased, because if you're not able to box up, it's really easy for an opponent to come through. You can see Mitchell and Wolfies, two of the most aggressive players in Europe with 60% of their eliminations in the third zone. And right as we talk about that, they face off against each other. Mitro going down there and also going down outside of the top 75, so misses out on the placement point. Wolfies, nice little 2-point swing there. 3 so far this game, up to 13, and a brilliantly timed graphic. Shoutouts, Prodigy Analytics and Production right there for getting that one. That was on point. Observers also catching that action. Just shout out to everyone also, just while we're at home getting all this done in the middle of the pandemic. Stay safe out there as we're hopping on board. Noah Riley over on the side. Steelix here. Everyone rotating into the zone, and Storm Surge is in play for now, but once one player falls, should turn off.
Noah Riley going without an AR this time around. We'll see how that impacts him there, as he does have that legendary SMG in his inventory. We saw Wolfies just dominate with it earlier. Will Noah Riley have the same success? He's going in. Crash Pad is there. He knows that player already weak. He's got to go for this diagonal Crash Pad. We saw it again and again. Be very effective for Savage. And Noah says, you know what? I'm not going to go for anything just yet. I'm going to pause for a moment. I'm going to take a big shield. And now I'm going to go back, taking my Crash Pads, and could continue to go aggressive. But he's already netted a lot out of this engagement. He's netted that extra 50 HP with that tag going in. He's netted a lot more. The pressure continuously being put here by Noah onto the enemy, who's trying just desperately to run away. Noah's got a third party coming up as well. Heads up play by Noah. He's going to take down Bad Sniper, who unfortunately got caught in a box that he didn't own. And now Ocean's Mythic Burst Rifle is going to be Noah's.
Real big misplay coming down from Bad Sniper there. He's trying to take advantage of it. You can see the other player opt to just completely disengage away from Noah Riley. Knows what his kind of reputation has been as of late. So now we're going to swing on over here. Benji Fishy, we've talked about it. Traditionally, he has struggled kind of at the start of tournaments. That was not the case in qualifiers 1 and 2, where he actually had some of his best openings, particularly qualifier 2, where he went on to win. But now, kind of a little bit more traditional Benji in this style, only sitting on 2 points after 2 games, but still plenty of time to catch up, and if anybody's capable of doing it, it's him. You see him find the harpoon there, but the player just able to cover himself and knock it fully alley-oop, but it doesn't matter. He says, I'll take the rebound anyway and slam it home. Freddy going down there. That's one elim for Benji, but if you check that map right there, there's about 4 or 5 other players in the immediate vicinity. He has to be careful. He's going to find one of them and then get beamed from the side, and now he recognizes the danger that he's in, going to cover up and potentially try and resolve this fight with Tyne, as Kiko and another player are back on the side, and Clay, he's trying to put that harpoon to good use right now.
I love to see it. Anytime you get the harpoon action involved, Benji picking up another elimination, but the shotgun harpoon wasn't able to see exactly how he got it, but I love seeing it used, and these pro players find so many different ways to use the items that they are given and use it to their advantage. Benji had that harpoon, got that early pull onto the player, knew he could get aggressive. That one as well, breaking the walls with it. So smart from Benji, and I wouldn't expect anything less from, you could say, one of the best players in the Fortnite world. Very, very heads-up plays. It's now sitting on four or 5 points there, looking good. Now this is where we start to see Benji ramp up. We sometimes talked about how, traditionally those starts are not the hottest there for him, but now ramping up. This is what we would expect to see out of him, constant pressure and elimination. And somebody who we expect to see that out of as well is Wolfies, who picks up another elimination in the mid-game now. Sitting on, I believe, 3 here. He should be looking good in terms of mats, in terms of HP in his inventory as well. He's looking very, very healthy. And this is something that's very, very good to see, is a return to form for Wolfies.
Now we're going to swing back on over to Noah Riley. We saw him get that Ocean's loot. He's going to put it to good work there. A couple of white tags coming out. The 39 came through. Bad Sniper was the one who gifted over to him. Not quite able to hit that crash pad, but a good hip fire there with that legendary SMG, picking up some high-level accuracy. And he's going to pop an early launch pad and then opt to go up to the high ground. I don't know, again, how I feel about that. I think if you had just walked, you probably would have got around the same amount of distance, maybe taking a little bit of storm damage, but we'll see if that comes back to haunt him here now as we have Deceptos against Hardfind. Hardfind, another player who has struggled to make the round 3, but once he gets there, he is one of the most dangerous players in Europe. You can see Deceptos trying to hunt him down a little bit. You can see him constantly checking the vertical, wants to make sure he's safe, but still a decent amount of rotation to go through, and 60 players left in the lobby still.
Deceptos has got the pressure that he wants here. He's got the aggression that he wants. His Hardfind is going to go out into zone and is going to be eliminated a little bit earlier than he would have liked. A heads-up play by Deceptos to realize He went back out into zone, but now he's got a player holding him out here, and Lazy gonna have to make a crash pad play, or he looks like he's trying to build on up there, but he's running out of match. He's very, very low as well. Gonna be Deox there in the big main building here of Lazy, but pressure coming from all angles there. Decepto's trying to stay alive, but the shotgun shot from Deox and the wall take as well. I think this is gonna be the elimination. Deox, though, does go down pretty low. Decepto's does give a good challenge, but unfortunately will fall.
Yeah, the Gamers Origin player going down there, unfortunately not able to create the distance. He was trying to save that crash pad and just utilize his low level of builds, but probably should have burned it to get as much distance as possible. Hindsight is always 2020, as now on board here with Metashroom. He's right on the edge of the circle. You can see, again, we're pulling for almost the third straight game directly towards Lazy Lake. Not sure what the odds on that are, but we got some Ovation Esports on Ovation Esports action here as Zestin versus Noah Riley. Noah Riley, of course, the player who picked up the Ocean's loot from Bad Sniper there, finds a huge shot with that rare charge shotgun. Not quite able to follow it up, but going to put to work his wall pressure here, both between the legendary SMG and the Oceans. A good job to back off back behind the stairs, but now the third party comes through. He wants to make sure he's the one who secures this elimination, and he will get it. Zestin going down there. Big refresh for Noah Riley. Plenty of wood and brick coming through, but no excess shield, so unfortunately he's going to be very weak here. Only the 83 HP player goes in the box now, only the 4 HP. What do you have, Noah? How good are you? How good are your shots? Can you get out of here, and can you at least make it to top 50? You need to outlast one other player with this 4 HP to guarantee yourself one more point. Another crash bag comes through, able to cover himself with the edits though, and that player is right on the edge, and it's Wolfies who's trying to relentlessly get in, and he needs it. 104 with the epic tack, exactly 102 more damage than he needed, but going to be enough as Wolfies will now hit the launch pad, go into zone. 5 eliminations for the young English player.
And he leaves Ocean's Mythic Burst. He leaves that legendary SMG as well. So he didn't pick up anything other than those materials and the siphon there. That was relatively a good gain for him, but that is what we've seen time and time and again from Wolfies, is just madness and chaos on the edge of zone, and able to make it in with that launch pad. In-game from Wolfies is going to be very scary to see. We haven't really seen much of it, especially when he's on his run, on this aggressive play style. We'll have to keep our eyes on that leaderboard and see where he ends up falling in that top left-hand corner. But on your screen now, Kensel is going to pick up elimination. He uses the crash pad. He went so aggressive on such low HP, but it felt like he had to.
Felt like he really had to, needed to get that siphon coming through. And also a big thing to note in this game in particular, we talked about how tight the leaderboard was at the top. Nido has already gone down. Toos has already gone down. Hardfind has already gone down. Noah Riley already gone down. All of these players who were in the top 15 who had been able to push up have fallen super early past the first round of placement points. We're now into the second round of placement points, which means there's a big opportunity for whoever wins this game and anybody able to push into the top 5 to capitalize and work their way not only into a qualifying spot, but substantially up the leaderboards here, which is what Benji's trying to do right now. 2 eliminations to his name, 2 rounds of placement points, has 4 points already in this game, which means he got 1 from his first 2 matches. So slow start for Benji on the day. Can he turn around into something bigger? Now is his opportunity.
He's going to have to, with that little HP, he's going to have to find something. Maybe a beam out of the air will do it. He's going to get some shots. Has to be careful he doesn't get epic whaled. There's players who are very, very close. He's trying to find any and all eliminations that he can, now being forced to rotate himself. This is not the best situation he'd want to be in. Again, does have that harpoon so he can get into players' boxes. If they're not paying attention, it will one-hit all freshly built builds. As Benji's going to go in, the harpoon going to be the entry tool. Shots coming through. He is going to get the elimination, and he does pick up Cryox, our Game 1 winner. And now on the back foot, he is getting pressured by multiple different angles. He's going to have to put some distance in between him and that player pressuring him. The high ground doing it as well. Benji will hold on for the moment, but an elimination.
And it's X Squeeze on the other side, who is the leader going in to this match. Now, right now, you can see we're on board here with E11's Tayson for his 3rd elimination, clutching up today. Very similar to how Zach Hyman clutched up last night. Brilliant performance from him there. Want to give him the shout out. That's the E11 owner. But you can see Tayson right now trying to find some space for himself. He needs to get over to that top 40 for the next round of placement points. Again, with the placement points come through, it's outlasting the first 25 players, then the next 25, then it's rounds of 10 until you get into the top 30, then every 5 players you outlast until you're into the top 3. Then it's an additional points going through there. So that's why we talk about consistently making it in the late game. Really lets you aggregate points very quickly. But Tayson is doing it not only through that placement, as 1 point does tick through there, but also through his eliminations. 3 so far in this game. And you can see he's also holding that sniper rifle for a potential one-shot, one elimination opportunity late game.
We saw him hold it last game, and this is very interesting that he's going to keep it this far in. He's actually playing really ultimate low, which is very interesting to see. He did box up at Launchpad because, as we all know in competitive Fortnite, if it goes down, it's going to come up.
And you see Benji actually going down there just inside the top 40. So we talked about how he's trying to rack it up. 5 points coming in for him this game, 6 points pushing up total now. So trying to move himself up the leaderboard, but not going to be the huge explosive performance we saw him last week as Airbuffo picks up light, and we close in on top 35 as well. Tayson trying to find some picks on the low side. Steelix getting Rifle as well, become legends. He will go down. Some white tags going on there, so Tayson knows this player is low. Going to be forced to burn utility, and he will get it. That is really good job making sure he's stuck with that one until he's able to get the elimination. However, because it was in Storm and he needed to rotate, no additional refresh going to come off it, so no materials or no chance to upgrade. You can see now Arion has the high ground, but a number of crash pads are going around to challenge. We're going to hop on board here with C1 Rusty L on the low ground.
Ooh, as he picks up an elimination onto Squeeze, who, again, I believe was in first coming into this game, but more than likely start to fall out of that as these players continue their dominance. Rezon making it in game is going to fall there, unfortunately, as Rusty is trying to get some pressure on the backside, just like we saw Tayson do, but will not be able to capitalize on it. Got a player down below. He's taking some damage. He's going to go for the aggressive play. This player going to the box, and he waits for it perfectly. That's going to be an elimination on to save it. Who, making it to the end game, getting those placement points is looking good, but Rusty looking just a little bit better here. His build's looking so good, but they're running out. He's only got 4 builds remaining. That's not even enough for a full box.
Nope, he needs a pick, and he needs a pick now. You can see him edit out now, trying to work back over to the old boxes, and now it's time to play a little bit of rat race. What can you do? Where can you find a pick? As Tayson takes down Andalex, and we close in on top 15, another placement point. You can see server catching up a little bit. Players trying to use whatever utility you can. And Tayson goes down there. Rusty ending the E11 players run at 16th. Stand up, picking up Nebby. Diablo trades over for kick name there. As now Rusty again looking for some space after he did get a couple of builds. Nice little edit there. Pops the window open. Says hello to Stana. That's not a nice little pie there. That's a tack shotgun coming through the face. And Rusty doing a good job again with another clutch low ground run, Clay.
He is finding elimination after elimination that he needs. He's going to find another one here. This player was farming up. He's boxed him up. He could go in. There's a player right on the side. He doesn't see him. The RPG comes down. He takes a lot of damage, but he finds another elimination on the rotary. Rusty L is doing so well at finding these in-game impact eliminations. It is looking so good for him. Someone who may have been unknown to many, but after this weekend will not be unknown to everybody else. He is putting on a show for us here today. Needs to get into that top 5 placement points. Wants more eliminations as well. There it goes. In-tech going down. Rusty looking for those low ground eliminations, which he's been so good at getting. Doesn't get a tag there, but will be able to continue moving forward as those eliminations they got earlier were so clutch in the mat department. Shots go through, but he is going to fall. Resguard going to take him down. I believe back-to-back elims there for Resguard as Kira up on the high ground again. Does have Kid Shockwave launcher in hand. Resguard, though, taking a lot of damage from Rocky. Can't able to do it. The 2 HP clutch not going to happen. And this goes to heal off. Rocky's got it. He's in the box. Shots come through, and Zone going to tick him over. Rocky is going to be able to pick up the 2 elimination victory royale.
Good job from Rocky there. 16 points taking him over, putting him up in the conversation. But honestly, just look at that rotation up the side of the mountain, back down. So many builds, so many launch pads, crash pads as well. But the question is, where did it launch them up the standings, and what are we looking at as we hit the halfway mark? 3 games down in the FNCS Chapter 2, Season 3, Qualifier number 3 for Europe. We're going to throw it back on into the studio with Zeke, Monster, and Bala.
Guys, what an awesome game, number 3. I can't believe how that kind of unfolded. Rocky was just holding down the zone and did what he needed to do, even boxing the player out. I mean, when it comes down to it, and you have to execute in those final moments, Rocky showed us he's got what it takes. He can climb those stairs when he needs to.
Yeah, that was ice cold in the final moments to take out some of the big names as well. But Resty was the guy who really steamrolled through that low ground and really survived in a spot where he had the tools, but he didn't really use them as you would have expected because he was trying to stay quiet. He was trying to stay slow and small so that he had the room to actually work with and push people out of the zone like that in the final moments. So 5 elims for him, that was a statement game.
That's the hard part. Playing that low ground and that low terrain, it gets really awkward. So I'm kind of sneaking through those builds. And the interesting part, he was able to upgrade his loadout. He got the frags and the material, right? That's not often that you actually catch 5 impacts back-to-back. So like you said, there was opportunity there on the field that he probably left behind.
You know, there's a lot of things happening here in these games. A lot of these big-name players are being eliminated right off the early game in that last game, making it so a lot of these other players can rise and move up the leaderboards.
100%, and this is one of those opportunities or shots that we want to look at, right? You want to look at players like Jamside who were in the top 5. That was the story of the last game, is how the entire leaderboard is up for grabs. The field is open here. Jamside in a long, drawn-out fight. One of the players that was in top 4 hits a red light here going up against Milan Bala.
Yeah, it was a red light indeed. Jamside, who's been trying so well, has to rotate through Misty where Milan is in that area, and this is not a fight that you end up wanting to take because of how extended it can be, how high it will take you, and how many different fights will end up, or how many different players will end up looking at you. Jamside tried to pressure, but alas, even though he might be at the top of the leaderboard, Milan will be able to shut him down with the edit down a couple of shots as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? You had Cyrox fall, you had Nido fall, Tuz fall, all these players that were huge and up on the standings all of a sudden lead out of the leaderboard. And here's Tuz's perspective here up against Kira now. It's going down.
Kira ended up getting 2nd place in that last one, the last player to fall in the hands of Rocky, but he started off by taking out Tuz. Tuz now might have had a very, very good game too because he got Kit's Shockwave Launcher and Kit's Charged Shotgun after winning a spawn fight against Thomas HD. But this time the story is back to game 1, back to the lobby he stays. Another big fight was X-Squeeze, who was at the top of the leaderboard before this. 1st place for him, ending up in a fight against Kiryachi, who's landing somewhere over at Risky Reels. He tries to disengage and Squeeze will not let him, and he will put us back against the wall and find this. He's trying to hold the right shoulder peaks, but Squeeze knows with the stairs that he has, now it's just a matter of trading damage effectively against Kiryachi.
And that's the thing, right? Not only is he still chipping away at points, but, you know, falling and losing the steam because he's also going to fall sometime later in the competition in the mid-game. So he does inch his way across, but not enough to continue to hold that dominant 1st place lead. Here's Resty, though, Ball. You saw him doing it. This was on broadcast. He was going crazy in the end game.
That he was, and something that we didn't necessarily notice is that this guy has been slowly creeping his way up. After game 2, he had a 2nd place 5 elim game, and now this one, 4th place and 5 elims. And this is what we were talking about at the end of that game, is the patience takes out Tayson. And then he has Mats to be able to build out, but he takes it slow, makes sure that he has all the awareness and all the players in his eyesight so he can calmly take all these shots. And there's another one too, knows that on the edge of zone there's going to be even more.
And this is where I think things got a little weird for him. Although he is, of course, finding the impacts that he needs. The exchange right here, he gets hit with a rocket before that player falls down and then catches Rotary. That's where he should have cranked, right? He had 500 material, but he continues to play that low ground. That was going to be his demise before Rocky comes through and sweeps things up.
Yeah, but not before Ref's Guard also got a couple of elims too. So what we're seeing is, yes, Rocky ends up getting the victory royale, but we saw Resty have, 5 elims, which is pretty good. And then the rest of it, it's just like, okay in terms of elims, and everybody else getting the placement too, because, it's a rising tide. Basically, the only player who got really any sort of differential factor from placement in that game was Rocky. Everybody else pretty much had even elims. So Zeke, you were talking about how the leaderboard is, staying close, and how a lot of people are having opportunity. That's a reason why in the end games it's nobody differentiating themselves with high elims.
That's right, man. That's pretty much going to directly impact the leaderboards we're about to see, because a lot of these big name players keep falling, right? So if the entire leaderboard can call the top and pull themselves up, that differential is going to be much tighter. Resty here in 31 points, 10 eliminations. I mean, guys, this point spread is not that vast right now.
it's so tight. And you see Tayson climb up from 8th to 2nd. He was the only, if any, on that top 10 in the previous page that managed to stick through. Look at Naito, falls down. Cyrox falls down. And new names are entering up into the top. Rocky, Refsguard, and that's pretty much the name of the game right now. It's such a close tie right here.
Oh my goodness, it's literally within 10 all the way down to 20th place, essentially, where it's, what is it, 13 there for Kinzel. This is definitely close, closer than we've seen after 3 games. Usually the top is starting to, run away with it, but man, we say this a lot, but anyone's game at this point.
Hopping on over to the next page, 30th right now, Steelix, 14 points. Again, this kind of story perpetuates, right? It's like, there's no standout player. With only 3 games left to go, anyone could make a push for that top. Wolfie's right. We've seen him pop off. We've seen Steelix in the past as well. Anything can still happen when this last end of the competition.
And that's the thing.
Yeah,
when you're top 5... Go ahead, Bola.
No, I was just going to say, basically, I think something that people are paying attention to right now is how to proceed for the next day and also seasonal finals. That's kind of where people's heads are at right now. It's already 2 days down in terms of qualifiers. Day 3 and day 4 right now is going to be a focus forward.
Yeah, and that does play into the fact that when those top 5 fall, anyone can start continuing to climb up, and that's why we're seeing so many new names enter in. And these are names that need to make their way to the top 50, right? So we're seeing new stories develop, new players breaking their way closer and closer to kind of hit that qualification mark, and players that need it this time around.
That's right, guys. 50 spots. The top 50 will move on to heats next weekend. With 3 games left to go, who will hold down those spots, and who will be left to look on and come back tomorrow to try and make that qual? With that being said, Fortnite fam, we are getting ready to go to a break. So I am quite thirsty. I'm so parched. I need to go get myself some more water. For everyone here, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're not following these guys, Ball TW and Monster Deface, Clay and Sundown, please shoot them a follow over on Twitter. They're absolutely incredible. And keep it locked here for more action out of Fortnite here in the European region. See you guys in just 5. What's up, Fortnite fam? Welcome back to continued coverage of the Fortnite Champion Series. I'm your host, Zeke. Joining us, we got Bala TW, we got Monster D Face. Wait, this way. We're getting ready to hop back into games. We're in the tail end of day number 1 here in the competition. Only 3 games remain, and 50 spots are up for grabs right now. Competition is pretty close, gentlemen. Pretty close.
Closer than I think we've seen, and after 3 games, and there's really no names that are super pulling away with it, or even really changing or showing off that they have anything to say at the end of the day, because right now it's within 1 for so many.
That's the way we like it. We want those leaderboards to be nice and close. That way we can actually tell the story, right? Keep things intense. Keep everyone on their toes here. Let's not forget, there's a lot of prizing on the line, so this is a great running, great showcase halfway through the competition, Zeke.
That's right. Well, guys, it is time to hop into the next game here in EU. That being said, let's hop on over to Clay and Sundown to get us into the next game. Take it away, guys.
Much, Zeke, and we're going to hop right on in here to game number 4. Let's start off the back half of EU correctly, and it's going to be with a just missed snipe here from Enetic. Not quite going to find his target, but looking to find it, but a good coverage from that player, making sure he was able to break the sight lines. As you see, Vadil taking down Dimitro there, Thomas HC also taking down Podside. We are hopping in a little bit ahead. You can see we're on Storm Circle number 2. My name's Sundown. I'm joined here by Clay Stalin. Clay, how you doing today, buddy?
I am excited to see how these games finish up. Like Bala and Monster broke it down for us earlier, it is very, very close within the top of the standings. It is within 10 points from 1st into 15th. That is just one good placement game with a couple of eliminations, and any of these players are capable of doing it. So I'm very excited to see how these players played out their last couple of games. If players like Benji start to turn online, if players like Mitro, who unfortunately we just saw get eliminated, will start to turn online in the back half.
And the thing with, pardon me, the thing with Mitro in particular is he always has that pressure to have that one pop-off game, which is what we saw in Qualifier number 2 last week. It was that game that really pushed himself up and it got him into the qualifying range. So you always kind of have to wait for that time bomb. However, if that doesn't happen early on enough in the competition, he's just effectively locked out from his ability of taking the top spot, as so is No Luck Nebby. No luck today at all. And that catching him with a headshot there.
And unfortunately, that has been one of the stories of this season is sniper shots, sniper shots, sniper shots, sniper shots there. And then not able to capitalize on the loot, though. Someone else going to yoink it up. He's going to go aggressive for it. He's going to look for that. Has to be careful. Someone coming over the top. That's actually going to be Matzo there from Train Hard, trying to get involved with the action as well as Crown down below. But we're back over to Kezix, who is no stranger to these early game fights, and early into mid-game fights, so we see him take time and time again. This time he's on the back foot, trying to be aggressive. He's got the pressure down, but he takes a lot of damage there with that crash pad, and he's trying to box up to make something happen, but he doesn't have any entry tools. He can only take the walls and spray him. Not able to use those crash pads anymore, as the wall is actually going to be in favor of his opponent, as the cone is as well. Kezix is going to have to play on the back foot here.
It's a really weird fight to be taken, particularly when he only has a 16 bills and no entry fight. He's really going to be at the mercy of his opponent. Again, has a charge shotgun. We talk about it. Not necessarily as versatile or aggressive as the attack. It limits your options in terms of wall taking, being able to harass your opponent. You can see he's just trying to find some space to get some builds because he's only on the 26 wood, and that is it. No hard mat. So if he's not able to find and resolve a fight, he's really setting himself up for a tough late game.
And in an awkward spot as well. With that mountain going up, he's going to have to try to traverse that here as well. Looking to go for some loot that's on the ground, but a player just going to be ready just to pressure him in the continued movement you see on the map coming through there in the box. But Mason going to get baited in. Kezix with the charge shotgun going to take him down.
I'm starting to get super frustrated by these players who have big advantages against somebody and then they end up closing the distance against these charged shotguns. Yes, that's going to work in the open rounds. Sometimes it's going to work in the semis. When you're talking about the top 100 players in EU who have played already a maximum of 14 games, you're on game number 4, they're going to hit their shots. They're going to hit those huge charged shotguns, and if you're going in with less than 100, you're going to get taken out, and sometimes that's not even enough. It's Tayson continues just his over-aggression. Sometimes not somebody who we're used to seeing as really being kind of the push, go, 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 kind of the pacemaker of the match, but he's really been that so far today, averaging 4.3 eliminations coming into this match and already has 2 to his name.
This is really good for him. We also want to point out that every player in the top 10 going into this match is there for the first time. That's a lot of pressure, and Taysom might be feeling it. But if he's able to put pressure into performance, then he's going to look very, very good going into heats and grand finals.
Yeah, but let's talk about that pressure and see how many of those players are able to really push themselves going forward. We saw Rusty able to win last game. X-Squeezer also been pushing himself forward. For Rocky and Air Bafo, that's your top 5 with Tayson currently in second place, being the one to round them out. How many of those players are going to be able to capitalize on the opportunity that they have this game to go through? Because now we're going to see a replay right off of the start. And this was that #1 match from the player who was able to come back last game, getting into a fight right off of the start. And Rusty trying to turn around with a pistol, but unfortunately getting caught out. No builds there, 15 HP, and he was one of the first players eliminated in the match. So we talk about those opportunities for people to play catch up. Well, first place, 31 points. He's already down. So now the rest of the lobby has the opportunity to kind of close the gap. And we're really being set up for somebody to have a chance to come up absolutely huge. If you have a monstrous game 5 or a game 6, you can just outright win the tournament on that performance alone. And we've seen players do it. Last week it was the battle between Benji and Noah Riley in the final game. Who's going to step up and be the one to steal the crown this time?
And as we see that fly in, 7 of the top 10 players are in their first solo files. Intech right here on your screen, 9th place coming into it, is in his first semifinal performance ever. And he is dominating. It was 7th place. He's more than likely looking to qual after this. As long as he's able to consistently get into placement and consistently able to get at least 1 or 2 eliminations, he will end up in that top 50 spot.
Yeah, he's more than on pace right now. We saw kind of 21 had been the pace before for the finals. We saw 7 points after the 2 games. Right now, Enetic, though, pinned down with 25 points. Needs to find a little bit of room, and he's going to opt to use kind of the verticality in the mountain itself. Honestly, I probably would have dropped farther down, especially if you're going to commit to just being defensive here. However, player getting directly on top of him, and that backs him off a little bit, but he knows his shield is cracked. He only has the 1 mini there. Gets dropped all the way down to the bottom, now being forced to burn through his hard mats. Looks like he was almost completely out of wood as well. Benji picking up an elimination, the feed trying to potentially make his push back into relevancy, but right now it's all about Enetic on the back foot and now in the zone with a 2-tick going on. As soon as that closed, it would have been 5-tick, so nice little jump out from him to get to the side. So only 27 effective HP. The mini pot will get him up to 42, but that's still just barely a breath. That's 1 good shot from either shotgun.
It almost looked like he had forgotten the mini at that point, finally able to take it, but he is very, very worse for wear. As we move over to someone who's not as Enetic, is going to go down there to AWA. They do end up finishing off that elimination. Benji, however, on 3 eliminations, he's setting this elimination up. He's got that harpoon if he wants to use it like we saw last game. If he wants to get into that box or grab that player and something creative, Benji can do it. We saw him do it before, and he's looking to go into this player's box with that setup. He knows they're in that one box, but interesting to see him not go for it. But I want to point out, following a win, 70% of players placing outside of the top 50 at their next game. We saw 2 place first, then he went down. We saw right now Resty place first and then went down right away.
Yeah, it's all about containing that momentum and really chaining it into something else. Like, yes, it's awesome. You win a game, you're super hyped, you immediately queue and go into the next one. Now you're going to sit there for 30 minutes, 40 minutes while everyone else is going to play out a key match. You're going to watch your points, your lead just slowly dissolve. And while it's nice to be up there, you have to really turn it into something else. And I'm a little disappointed in these players' ability to kind of keep that discipline and make sure it's going on. But with that being said, it is solos, it is EU, it is the largest and toughest region to get consistent places as Benji goes in and picks up what I think was his 4th elimination there. Not sure if he was the one to get the confirmation on it. Back on board here with game number 2 winner, Gambit's Toos. Was taken out early in game 3. As you said, we do have Storm Surge in play as well, and it looks like this one might actually get a couple ticks off as 11 players are going to be forced. But as I say that, Jamside, Kezex, and Diablo all picking up eliminations. RQS Heat getting one onto Reason. Reason going down again very much so outside the placement threshold. So not really finding any momentum for him today. That was the Qualifier 1 winner from last week.
And picking up a 5th place in Qualifier day number 2, it's a little concerning now coming into the back half of qualifiers, how he's playing into these games, right? It is just the semifinals, and he is still here. He has already qualified for heats and grand finals, but with this error of consistency here for him, it's concerning moving in to heats, into grand finals, where he's going to face some of these players. He's not going to face the same players every time. Yes, there's going to be set lobbies, but it's not going to be the same set lobbies from today or the same set lobbies from the day that he ended up winning. So he's going to need to bring that back and rein it in. As Toos looking to rein in this elimination, as that player got a little bit too greedy, and a very heads-up play by Toos to follow down below, but he's got to be careful. There's a player looking at him, and he realizes that and realizes, hey, I can't go too aggressive. I'm just going to maintain my high ground. He seems he's pulled zone as well. He's got that kid shockwave launcher. This looks like another dub here from him if he's able to hold high ground. But what's concerning is that he's going to find, okay, it was a drop there. Thought it was something happened. But his match, Sundown, he's only got 54 builds.
He only has 54 builds, still 52 players left remaining. 2 more will need to go down before that second round of placement points. And Storm Surge turns off, and finally, there it goes as Toos picks up Jake I. Rifla will also pick up an elimination. Currently up on the high ground, you have Become Legends, Edison, as well as Toos on the one side. You see Noah Riley, Rifla, both still in the lobbies. Ovation Esports, Arion trying to get a push towards the side here, getting a good angle and boxing himself up, but also running low on mats. Only 35 now, as we see tons of mountains and changes in verticality in play. What that means for the late game is players are going to be forced to burn utility much earlier on and burn through their builds, as you see Noah Riley picking up Stena there in the feed. And we have our top 56 goes down, as well as Orion trying to close the gap and be a little bit of a loot goblin here. However, the other player was able to steal away some much needed mats. He is just going to back off and reset. So good call by him, as we have 45 players left, and Savid going down right there too.
This is an interesting zone, because if it was going to say even pulls northwest, there's one player set up perfectly there. You see that one little green or yellow arrow there down below in a really good spot, but Sundown set it perfectly. You have to use your utility early in these games and these zones when it is on a mountain, because you know it's going to go down, and you can almost guarantee that it might at some point go back up. Toos, however, doesn't really have to worry about that, because he's got the kid's shockwave launcher. He can go down, he can go up, he can go down, he can go up. I think he's got 4 launch pads as well. This is a really good game for him. But again, the mats, he's going to have to find an elim, hopefully one that he can capitalize on and grab the mats from. But right now, with where he's positioned on the backside of zone, he's just looking to get anybody out of the air and says, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and launch pad. I'm going to save my rockets for this 7th, 8th zone and not waste them. And no one's shooting at him.
No one's shooting at him because nobody's necessarily in the high ground position except for the player he's attempting to land on. We'll wait for the server to catch up as everyone uses all their builds and all of their utility to get there. And Toos is actually going to be able to land behind Toby and pick him that one up right away. We talked about the 4 launch pads, and what is he using? He's actually just max height gliding and waiting out the rest of the lobby because they don't have that utility. So everyone else, as he's just gliding, hanging out at the top, they're burning through all of their builds, all of their crash pads, building up this huge mosaic monster on the side as Andolex picks up Felix. Benji still up. It gets Edison next. It gets Arcana Express Guard, gets Aya, and we're closing in on top 30.
Squeeze looking to get to that top 25, into that top 10. Is a crash pad going to be used here for him? He's looking in another shot on a player, but not going to be able to find anybody there. As Crown is going to go down. Squeeze is going to find S-Pin there as well. Another elimination in as well. It's going to be on to Saith and Matthew. Now 5 eliminations for Squeeze. We've seen him time and time and again be up and up and up in the amount of eliminations. And this is no stranger here, but he's going to run out of builds here soon, so he's going to have to make an impact frag come to him as Zone going back up the mountain, down to 14, 13 builds remaining. He's in a bad spot, and he's got to find something.
He needs to find something, but it's also top 25 here for him now. 5 builds left, but him and Tayson are the 2 players who are in the top 5 who are still left. And as I say that, Benji takes down Tayson just outside the top 20, so that's a huge impact elimination on him. And this is MCS X Squeezy RR's opportunity to rocket himself up the leaderboard, but Toos says not so fast. I might be able to catch up as well. 41 and 33 points. Toos is in the top right. X-Squeeze in the bottom right-hand corner. You can see Toos is all the way up on the high ground while X-Squeeze is trying to run that mid-ground tarp. Big elim again for X-Squeeze as he's now into the top 10. Top 5 will be the next threshold everyone is looking for, but Toos is completely uncontested with all of the launch pads while X-Squeeze is just running through everyone on the low ground. 12 eliminations between the two of them, and X-Squeeze being the leader at 7, which is almost the most we've seen. If he's able to convert this into it, he'll tie it with an 8th going through right now, trying to phase into the wall as Toos continues to just rain shots from above, and we have our top 5, Clay.
And X-Squeeze is still here, too. Back and forth, a battle. You see, X-Squeeze has the point threshold, 44. Toos with 36. He's got the elimination as well. Squeeze now sitting on 8. Can he make it 9? He's dodging the kid shockwave launcher very well. He's going to play on top 120. He's going to take him out. X-Squeeze with 9 eliminations in a 1v1 versus Toos. Who is going to come out on top? Will it be Toos, who had a victory royale already? Will be able to pick up another one. A harpoon being used to grab the Toos, but shockwave going to be sent into zone, and he's got to make some creative play. Harpoon being used. It's not enough as shots come through. Toos got the HP advantage, but he's not in zone. Shots coming through as well. 42 HP. Who is it going to come down to? Toos using the shockwave. That's going to send him. He's going to get the elimination, and he takes down X-Squeeze, the victory royale with 7 eliminations.
I was going to say, Toos, there's no possible way you could give that one up. You have to convert there, especially after giving the points over, but we're going to throw it back on over to Zeke, Bala, and Monster to break down the action for us.
My goodness, Toos with a 2nd victory royale on the day, using the caddy launcher there to secure the victory royale. Guys, Toos is making the run. He's like, guys, I want that number 1 spot.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's X-Squeeze who's also climbing his way up. It's like both players, one person on height cleaning up anybody who's contesting him, and then Squeeze was like a mid-ground layer cleaning everybody down on low ground. I think between them, they had 16 eliminations. But there wasn't just them. I mean, there were some other players who popped off in that game, too. Benji had a 15-point game, starting to rise up, but he was so far back that we're not even going to be seeing him anywhere close to the top still.
And someone who was still consistent in that game as well was Tayson, right? Tayson found some early game frags, picking up 2. He rode his way all the way towards that 8, that middle towards / late game. So he's also being consistent with the points. But talk about hot and cold for Toos right now.
Man, it's like he's trying to pull off. He's trying to get going. He can't, and then he does. Like, I mean, coming from Project Analytics, he is the first player in E with 2 wins in the semifinals. Now has 3 total finals wins. Toos. I mean, is this the guy that we're gonna say, like, is he the one? Is he the one we've been looking for?
Maybe. I mean, we've been looking for somebody to start running away with the tournament. The opportunity has been there for so long with how many people are pushing up to the top. But this game is the first time we actually get some tension between multiple players trying to push their way at the top. I'd call this right here the duel to try to differentiate yourself and show who might end up winning. But it all starts off with X-Squeeze at Risky Reels once again, and Krej is the first guy who swapped off of some early success out of Slurpy Swamps, but not quite finding the rotation path. So off to Risky Reels he goes, but down and back to the lobby he does too. And Squeeze for the 2nd time is taking out Kiriachi in the early game. Back-to-back games to do it too.
That's interesting, man. Kiriashi really falling here, and Squeeze just literally catching all those frags. Look at the play style right there through Kinzel, peeking, and the floor boost as well. He just goes off right now, and he does it with prime positioning starting right here. Looking back at the zone, using those crash pads beautifully. And we saw this on broadcast, as we should have, because they are just a chain of eliminations.
Yeah, back-to-back, and like I said, controlling that mid-ground layer, looking back and finding the perfect angle essentially off that mountain where things were going to happen for sure, and does not care if you're going to try to dive at his box next. He will take you out just the same. And look at this, Cone in the box gets the first tag and now has to continue to look down on low, and there's not enough time to react with the aim that he has. 7 eliminations now. He will go for more, even in a top 4 situation. One on the outside, a charged shotgun shot will instantly take out Dookie. And here's the start of the last 1v1 between him and Toos, but not before he takes out the final player.
And he hits so hard. He hits every single shot, as does Toos. Here's Toos. We're talking about someone who has fallen, and when he has fallen, it's in near dead last to then turn around the games and pull massive victory royales. This here being a record-setting run for pretty much Toos and whatchamacallit coming right in. So but here's all the frags from Toos right now. And he's just going to catch multiple back-to-back. And this is the 6 elim, and Sundown said it, right? You can't give this away, not with a loadout that he had, that mythic, right, weaponry coming in here. He was too hot.
Nothing to do right there. 7 eliminations as well. And to touch on what Monster was saying, basically, just to make it some specifics, 98th place and 87th place is where he fell. We saw one of the games where he ended up falling against Thomas HD, and then also the last one against Kira. So with the pattern how it's going to go, he's going to fall off spawn, but then win the last game, Zeke.
That's right. We got to see the standings, friends, because this is going to tell us how close it is between Squeeze and, of course, Toos. Let's take a look and see how close the point differential is. Win that game, Squeeze holding now number 1 spot, 48 points. Toos is right behind him, only 6 points behind. But now take a look from Squeeze down to Tayson, right? That's an 11-point difference. Now, what I'd like to see is if Toos forces a tiebreaker, because those victory royales will, of course, put him ahead. But on the other hand, it's like if he just pulls away, he just pulls away.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, man, Squeeze, like we said, ties the record for the most final elims, that 9th right there, right? 9 elims, so massive. And Toos as well, picking up that 97th placement to first is a record set for there, as far as just someone who's just been so hot and so cold. And then, of course, I wanted to give another shout out to Tayson, who's in 3rd. These are players that have been like either consistent or just hot and cold so far, and it's just different stories that are unfolding.
And also, like, a couple of these guys that have slightly fallen. I mean, Jamsite started up at the top. Rocky pushed up in that last game towards the top of the leaderboard. But already, because of how close it was, they've fallen 10, 15, almost 20 places in some of these situations. Benji Fishy had a very massive game, though, and had himself 7 eliminations, got top 11. That puts him in 21st, so there's still room for him to work, too. To catch up is definitely a tall task, with the gap being around 20 points for him, but he could be up in the top 5 when all's said and done.
Mitro there in 40th place, 15 points. I mean, we've got 2 games left, Mitro. Now is the time to move if you're looking to qualify and push on through, or at least aim for as high placement as you possibly can. Guys, we've got 2 games left. Is this going to be the story of Toos and Squeeze? Is Tayson going to make something happen? Is Kezix in 4th? Or Arion there, who's right behind Kezix in 5th? I mean, there's so much that still can happen with these 2 games left, especially when we've just seen previous games our top 5 be eliminated before placement, right?
And with the volatility of Toos, there's still some things to be questioned, right? Where this guy has broken records twice now in terms of how far away he was in the game prior to his win. I mean, the 97th place for him, and then the 87th place for him, getting first after that. That's 2 games where he's basically broken that record in the longest gap and difference between the win.
That's right. Well, gentlemen, it's time to get into the next game. Let's send it over to Clay and Sundown to get things popping.
Paula and Monster, as always, breaking it down and getting us set for the match number 5 underway. Of course, I am Sundown, joined here by Clay. And Clay, who are you keeping an eye on this match? Who is your player to watch, and what storyline are you most interested out of what they just brought up?
I'm looking at Milan. He was near the bottom, I think around 52nd or so coming into this game. So he's right on the edge. We haven't really seen much out of Milan in these last couple of months, but if he's able to turn it around today and get that top 50 qualification, it'll be very, very good, especially a confidence booster going into heats. But of course, we got to talk about Toos and Squeeze, the battle for first. Squeeze not landing on mythic loot, Toos landing on mythic Patty loot, and he's able to get it again. And I think he's uncontested yet again.
Uncontested, but needs to be wary of all of those vultures who like to just circle around the area and try and prey on him. But if he is uncontested, that bears well for him, considering going down in 97th and 87th in his 2 tougher games. But we talked about making a run towards the top. Kezix finding and stealing away the elimination on the time, doing his best impression there. Just a nice little yoink. One bullet, able to find that one, but now, as he's looking for the mats, a nice 35 tag on the shields there. You see Wolfie's in the feed also. A good headshot coming through as well for Kezek. That's going to signal the go right away. Has the harpoon as well as the tactical shotgun. That gives him plenty of options in terms of both breaking and pressuring the builds. On the other side of this, Jake I trying to find a little bit of distance. He also has a tac shotgun, but only 5 shotgun shells, and it has the crash pads as well. 2 big shots are going to back him all the way down. Going to need to find space for the minis, but not going to get it. Kezek, give him a little dance as well. Let him know you're feeling yourself, son. 2 eliminations on the day. 36 points as well, pushing himself right up into the conversation. That would be 4th place, just behind Tayson, where he was, but now only 1 point difference. So we hop back on over to Authority. On board here with Hardfind, 25 points so far, so looking good for the top 50, but wants to get inside that top 10 conversation.
And the Authority is something we've seen less and less, it seems like, this season, with only the Jules glider gun being as valued of a mythic this time around. Hardfind does not have it in his inventory. Usually it's grabbed and stolen away, but look, he's setting up a little ambush here. He's going to phase right through. That's going to be the shot that catches the player off guard. Another one as well. That player is very weak. He gets the wall behind him as well. And Hardfind's going to pick up Vino. The elimination comes through his second.
Tells him to take the L as well. That's going to be a tough L. Good face and a nice little ambush set up from Hardfind. Going back to the old school Battle Royale tactics there. Wait for your opponent to loot something, set up the trap, close the fight out. So now we hop back on board here with our current leader, MCES X Squeezy RR, the controller and French player representing for MCES. So far has averaged 5 eliminations a game. He has 20 total, which is the most out of anybody so far across the entire tournament. And in addition to that, he also has the best average placement of placing 14th so far. There is only 2 other players who have a sub 20 average placement, and that is Refsguard and Rotary. So keep an eye on those 2. However, their average eliminations much lower, 1.75 coming out of both of them. So if Squeezy can continue his run and just continue his good pace, make it into the end game, it's going to be very difficult for anybody to match his current pace of consistency.
It seems like the only player able to keep up with them is Deuce, right? That it's 6-point differential. You see how it's breaking down there with the format and how it is all shaping up to be. It's got to be very, very close. And Bala talked about if the pattern keeps up there for Deuce, he didn't fall early this time around. He made it past 87th. So maybe see maybe another victory royale here for him as we're on board with Milan, who's really in a bad spot. He's got no builds. He's trying to track this player with the crash pads. Luckily, he's going to find a player right there that crash pad from Artur, getting Milan back into the fight. But he only ended up having 2 HP after the fact.
Hey, it was 1 more than he needed, and Milan needs every single point available to try and make that push into the top 50. We were talking about him and keeping an eye out. Was right around that pace with 14 points afterward, but the question is he going to get a little bit more breathing room? Because as you saw before that, 0 builds, no real utility, is able to find a med kit to top himself back off in terms of health to get that health pool going. But you also see, no, okay, not quite going to happen. Just Shark was lurking a little bit. Don't forget about Shark Week. Tune in, that all-new episode, Tiger King Shark revealing on Party Royale. You can catch it at the top of every hour, as well as premiering on August 10th. I believe was that date, but now I'm back on board here with Hardfind. 2 eliminations so far in the Authority, 26 points for him, but again, no glider grapple gun in his inventory. Does pop a pepper. Hopefully that'll lead to some plentiful points for Hardfind. With that being said, just going to use the bonus move speed to kind of speed up this rotation a little bit.
He's got a lot of players lurking around. If you look at the arrows, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players in and around the Authority with him here. Decepto's going to be one of them. Matthew there as well. Decepto's, though, is being a little sneaky. He realizes what he needs to do. 71 builds. He's already picked up 1 elimination. Not too far off on the leaderboard as well. Around the same points as we saw Milan there, around 15, 18. But he sent it up, and it wasn't able to capitalize. We're back on board here with Hardfind. He's trying to get in. Crash pad in. That player's got really nowhere to go. He's up against the wall. He's going to have to make a play. Hardfind is going to drop him down right on the porta potty, and that's going to be Matthew going down. Hardfind picks up elimination number 3, but he's in a bad spot. Uses the crash pad to get out of it, and now he's trying to break his way up, but I don't know if Hardfind is going to be able to get out of this one, as we see the crash pad used again to get out, and he's being very elusive right now. No Pepper this time around, but he was able to get out. It's Kezix.
Escaping away from Kezix, we've seen how aggressive he can be. Deceptos is still sitting nearby, but really good job from Hardfind, and that's probably the best example we've seen so far of a pure early or mid-game disengaged crash pad, where he's using it not only to push the other player away, but also using to push himself back up and through the builds to then disengage different levels. So prime example of that. Generally, we're seeing players trying to go in or using them as a rotational side. Now Hardfind knowing all he needs to do is be able to get out of this first fight to have an opportunity to take another one, and that's what he's looking for right now.
He saw that RPG, and he quickly realized that he did not want to engage with that player right away. He thinks, I feel like he's thinking, you know what, let's go back down, let's pepper back up, and let's find somewhere else to engage upon. Now, does find a med kit, will more than likely pop it. That 16 HP could be the difference maker. We saw it with Milan with 2 HP being it, but Hardfind right now on your screen, the story of the Authority is him. Kezix is looking for him, though. You see the constant breaking of walls. He's looking every which way that he can. He's got to be careful of Deceptos there as well. Hardfind, though, looking to make the play. He's looking to be aggressive. Kezix is still keeping the pressure up, but this is Hardfind's area. He's been dropping here. He knows exactly where he needs to go and what he needs to do to get this fight back into his favor. And he's going to set it up again. He's going to go for it again. Hardfind just going to walk through. The Pepper going to let him phase. He's through all the builds, and Kezix going to get caught off guard.
Deja vu as Wolfies also picks up Mitro there. We're inside of that top 75, so placement points going through. But we talk about setting up game plans, knowing a spot, and you can tell how many times Hardfind has crouched underneath the floor. Somebody is trying to break at Authority and pop through. Deja vu right there. We saw his first elimination, able to repeat it and manufacture 2 key points as well as a placement point there. Very well done. It's now back on board here with another very aggressive player. Wolfies trying to cement his claim in the top 50, get a guaranteed spot in those grand final heats that will be going down next weekend. Again, if you guys are just joining us, welcome. My name is Sundown, joined here with Clay Stelling. This is match number 5 of the EU portion of the FNCS Chapter 2 Season 3 competition. As you can see there, the previous game had 3 players with 7+ eliminations. That was the first for the FNCS. Benji X Squeeze coming out with 2 of those, and then I forget who the third player was. I apologize off the top of my head.
I believe it was 2.
It was 2. That was right. It was 2 with the run from the high ground. Yep.
Yeah, an insane stat to think about. The fact that there is an elim cap, but no one has gotten close. The closest we've seen is 9, which less than half. It hasn't come into effect yet. It may still today, and it may impact tomorrow's qualifiers as well, as that's when players start to put a lot on the line. If they get to that top 100 tomorrow and they realize this is my last shot, I still got a chance with series points, I don't want to take it, we may start to see a very, very aggressive playstyle come out from a lot of these players. Ason, however, in this game is not being as aggressive as we've seen him. 0 eliminations, is set up relatively center zone, has got good match, good loot for rotations as well. This is completely different from the first couple games we saw from him.
I think he's realized now he's established himself. He's in kind of that competition. He really needs to make it to the late game. Did see that map fly in there, and most of the players already inside of the zone doing their best to stake out whatever claim they can. With only 2 matches left, you really need to maximize the number of points you're able to get here. As you can see, still 68 players remaining, so about 18 we need to fall before the next placement points. We're going to hop into a replay real quick. This is what Kezix saw on the other side of it. So you can see Hardfind able to just push up right away. And even though he gets the floor in the edit, does not matter. You're trying to cover that right away, but that ambush just so well executed.
And he tried to find some sort of room there to back out into, but with that pepper pod, there was just nothing that he could do. And you mentioned Wolfie's winning to secure a spot. I believe got 62nd in day number 2 qualifiers. So still without on that bubble. He obviously is closer in series points as well, but definitely wants to get that auto qualification into heats. Does not want to have to worry about tomorrow or those series points, because for a lot of players that are near the top, if you're not making it into these top 50 today, you've got that one chance, and that pressure can sometimes be too much. As we move over to Rocky, who had an amazing day here today, 28 points, will definitely be near the top of the leaderboards, but can they hold it out? Can they continue to get these placements that they've been getting? As you see, no eliminations. They have gotten that first placement point. They're actively looking for sniper shots, which we've seen time and time and again. This hunting rifle has been so deadly and so heartbreaking for a lot of players coming into this season.
Yeah, and we saw Rocky had been pushed up into the top 5 before the last game. Unfortunately, part of that club who got taken out super early. And also, shout out to Trafa HD on Twitter, hitting me up on the DMs, let me know that Xsqueeze, despite having the RR in his name, is a keyboard and mouse player. As now we see Noah Riley close the gap here, trying to find elimination on the side. Typical aggressive play from him. However, don't usually see him charge the box with his builds out. He's going to end up taking down to 36 HP. Doretic comes through, insta walkthrough from the opponent, though. Noah looking for the charge shot and not going to get it. Rocky with a good aggression there, but now immediately under the fire. Use the peanut butter edit in the jump shot, but not quite going to find it, as now the opponent forces him to back away and disengage. We're going to wait for the server to catch up a little bit. Don't worry, he's not running anywhere. Gets himself a grid over, pops the big pot, and he's going to be back up to right around that effective 100 mark. Only one short of it, and his opponent also seems like he's going to leave, as there are a ton of triangles both in the new safe zone and right around the outside. If you look in the bottom right-hand corner, that blue and purple zone is the storm. You can see the line coming in. The white lines represent where the new storm zone is, and all of those triangles are the players who would be trying to keep Rocky out of the zone. A number of other players will rotate in, but pretty much everyone has already made it to safety.
Ooh, and what a shot on to whomever this is rotating nearby. And I want to point out, Rocky's aggression has been very controlled, and that is what you need in these moments. Is you need to know when to go in and when to get out, and he knew that Skirty was low, so he had to go in and pick up another elimination. Using the crash pads to get in was so smooth and effortless. He said, you know what, there's a lot of people going to hold me in zone. Might as well take one out while I'm rotating in. Being of people that could be taken out, Haxbro's on the receiving end of Benji's pressure, and you don't want to be there. The shot's coming through. He's trying to crash pad away, a tag in the air, and this is almost certain that Benji is going to pick up this elimination, but he's getting tagged up from behind. The crash pad in, he's going to get knocked out a little bit, but Benji able to pick that one up 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, and I was going to say, tough to have to burn 2 crash pads there, but picks up a full nother stack, so he'll be able to recycle those up to nearly the 6 that you're allowed to carry. Has 5 in his inventory there, so good job from him. Benji, one of those 3 players we talked about last game, was able to hit that 7 elimination mark and really rocket himself back up into contention. The qualifier number 2 winner, making sure he's moving himself decently up the leaderboard. Another good game can put him up towards there, but all eyes on where Xsqueeze takes on in Tusar. Right now you can see Wolfie's over on the side with a decent loadout with pressure. You can see 44 shield tag there, trying to get control of the wall. A little bit more difficult with that charge shotgun. Does have the harpoon to compensate, but will likely want to save those charges to yoink some potential loot in the end game. Good wall replace right there on the metal. Gets control of both the walls. You can see trying to sneak in for a charge shot. However, player disengages with the crash pad, and Wolfie seems to have lost him a little bit there.
And this could be good for him. He doesn't have the initial pressure back onto that player. That gives that player a little sense of safety, and he's going to take advantage of that, pick up his 5th elimination. Now, this should put him into the top 50 for sure, but he just needs to keep inching forward, keep getting these eliminations, keep getting these placement points. This is typical Wolfies. Get elimination after elimination after elimination. What he needs to be careful about is this mid-game where he typically does fall earlier than he wants to. Is now on your screen, Rocky versus Milan. Now, that's what we talked about at the beginning. Is something else said, who you want to see. I want to see Milan do very, very well here, because he was on the cusp of not making it, right? There's still one more game after this. But he came into this game with 14 total points, which was below where you wanted to be, I think, right on the cusp. So if he's able to continue dominating this game as he has off of spawn and into this late game, he's going to get a very, very, very good placement coming into this next set of leaderboards.
And right now, the question is, if you're watching, what do you care about? As a viewer, what are you interested in? Who are the players that are in contention? Who are the ones that are still able to kind of push forward? We talked about it a little bit during the break. You want to hit kind of that top 50 line, where it looks like right now going into the games is going to be right around 20 and 21, similar to where it was last week. And also, what does your top 3 look like? Well, MCES X Squeeze, Gambit Toos, E11 Tayson, all still in this game, all competing towards the top, able to rack up not only their second bit of placement points here after 10 more players go down, but plenty of elimination opportunities. And right now, for Rocky, another player inside the top 10, pushing himself forward there, 31 points now on the back of 3 eliminations. And we're seeing the ambush tactics are paying off so far in EU. People manufacturing eliminations for themselves, whether it's phasing through somebody else breaking a build or just hiding in a cone.
However you got to get these eliminations is the way to do it. If you're able to pick it up by being a little sneaky, by being a little, on the edge of zone, hiding in your builds, however you're able to do it, EU is showing up. They're saying, hey, you know what? We're getting creative with our eliminations. We want to get as many as we can, and we're not going to just fizzle out near the back half of games. They're keeping it just a stack. We won't see Storm Surge, as more than likely 4 players are going to go over. Insel isn't going to have to worry about it, as well as he did pick up an elimination in this box in a very good spot to keep pushing up to secure it, right? We talked about 20 points. He's right on the outside of the bubble, but if he stays alive for 3 more players, he's going to get a placement point, and then continues just to ramp up from there. We've yet to see a really good pop-off game here for Kinsel, and we know he's capable of it. And this may be the game where he looks to make his climb to that top 10.
Trying to continue to push up. You can see him setting up potential crash pads, but not wanting to use his. If he can find someone else's, going to get a good angle on that one to close about halfway distance into the zone. Just needs a little bit more space. Actually, he might have just snuck right in on the edge there, as now we hop back on board here to Milan, a player who is right on that threshold where every single point is going to matter there. You can see 16 points right next to his name there in yellow. Use the crash pad, goes forward, finds it, 108 tag into an immediately follow. Kick name, goes back to lobby again. Second time we've seen him be taken down, and we have our top 50 as well. So a nice little 2-point swing there as Podside goes down just inside of it. Babab also going down inside. You can see Benji still up, Decepto still up, as well as our top 3 all remaining in the lobby. Become Legends Edison on the side there. FaZe Martaz fan, aka FaZe Martaz. Little narcissism going through there, but Gambit Toos, one of those top 3 we talked about, sitting on Kit's launcher, all the shields in the world, and just pulled priority edge on the zone, as you see on the right-hand side. Zone number 6, we're in full moving now.
This is a little different from Toos. We've seen him time and time again be on this on half in, half out high ground. Choosing to play mid ground, he doesn't have as many rockets in the Shockwave launcher, but you see him scouting for it. You see him looking for every opportunity he can to take it. Because all it takes is one perfectly timed Shockwave from him, and he's going to be able to grab it. But he's not even going to use it. He's going to go up the backside. He's just going to take it, and the surprise, the ambush is going to work, and Jamside is caught looking down. Toos has taken high ground, not even using Kit's Shockwave launcher.
Yeah, Jamside definitely looks like he needed a new pair of headphones there. Toos just quietly hunting rabbits up on the high ground, came right up behind him and popped him with that Mythid charge shotgun. But notice, even after the elimination, he is still below the Storm Surge threshold. 12 players need to go down. Everybody is playing for placement right now. We'll have another round of placement points going through as Toos picks it up now to 46. Light ended up picking up Ref's Guard, another one of those players with the average placements. And Netic also going down. So a lot of the players who we saw towards the top part of the board. But Toos is right on the edge there. He needs to wait this out and just hopefully he's able to stay in as Deceptos picks up another Elim. We're going to switch on over to a wide. We'll get a better look at the lobby. You can see Andalex and Milan both on the low ground as Takiko right above Milan on the side. Milan now 19 points, well above the Storm Surge threshold thanks to his 3 eliminations. And Squeeze picks up another one to Felix, trying to stretch out his lead. Benji picking up an Elim as well as Milan there, and we have our top 30. Milan steals a glider gun. This could be his opportunity to secure a guaranteed top 50. All he needs is a couple more placement points.
And he, with that Tools glider gun in his inventory, he more than likely will be able to. He's got a lot of mass that he can conserve on. He's got a lot to work with his inventory as well. Crash pads as well, but he's looking for eliminations. Milan does not need these. He can just play for these placements, but he's looking to go aggressive. Squeeze is going to go down in that top 10, though. The leaderboard He's going to shake up just a little bit if Toos is able to stay alive for a little bit. Milan going to pick up a backside of zone elimination there onto Antarak. And this is what Milan needed. He needed one good game to secure himself into the top 50, into the top 25. And Milan is going on a run right now.
And now we have Milan in the bottom right. Grizzly 6 Art in the top right, but you can see Crown all the way up on high ground. Light still in the lobby. However, Toos and Tayson both in, but right as I say that, no, Tayson still pops in. Apologize, that was the health card. You can see now Milan still trying to tarpon on the backside. The Grizzly player waiting with the Pepper. We're going to wait as the server catches up. Toos in a battle up on the high ground on the left side of your screen. You can still see ambush happening in the top right as 6art hits a big 105 tag. Milan still under pressure. Toos still controlling the high ground, but the eyes are on Toos and Tayson. That is 1 and 2 right now. Who is going to be able to push themselves up farther? And can Milan secure himself a top 50 spot in the heat? That's what we're looking at. That's what we care about as the Grizzly player continues working top down, and Toos gets eliminated right there. He hits the top 10 marker, but no more points coming out from him. This is Tayson's opportunity to steal up and potentially secure the #1 spot. But right now, Milan trying to survive on the low ground. 6art picking up another elimination in the top right-hand corner, and we're closing in on the top 5 as Tayson goes down just outside the top 5. No additional points for him, and the rest of the lobby will play itself out as Deceptos goes down in 5th. 4 left. Top 3 is what they all need for the next placement point, Clay.
And it looks like Milan may have this. Another elimination came through there. 6 for him. He's got the crash pads to use to break through his build. Shots coming through. He's in the face. Light gonna go down. Milan now sitting on 7, looking to get #8 here. He's being aggressive. This is the game he needed. We talked about it at the beginning, and he's just doing everything he needs to do, but down to 14 HP. Not able to do it in 8 eliminations, second place, but a 4 elimination victory royale here for Grizzly 6R.
6art, well done to close it out, but Milan was the story on the low ground. We've seen so many low ground runs just take it away. We're going to throw it back in before our final game in the studio. Zeke, Bala, Monster, what do you guys have?
We have it all, Sundown. We have it all. The biggest thing we have is the standings. That is going to very much dictate what we do view here in the last game. Now, very quick, Victory Royale, I believe, is 6R, maybe it's Garrett. I'm so sorry if we pronounced your name wrong. Sometimes these things just happen. 6RT, Garrett, whichever you are, congratulations to Victory Royale. Now, let's talk about the standings. Gentlemen, these standings are extremely close. Still tied between Exqueezy and Toos. Now, take a look. 54 points versus the 52 from Toos. Now, keep in mind, Toos does have the 2 Victory Royales, a few less eliminations, but we're only looking at a 2-point differential heading into the final game. Tayson, though, in 3rd, 7 out. I mean, guys, these two are looking to run away with it.
Yeah, they are, and basically we continue the story that we started in the last game for Squeeze and Toos. But there are some players in striking distance. Thankfully, though, we now have a clear path for Squeeze and Toos. And for Toos, it's basically Caddy Launcher going all the way through. But still, a number of players want to push their way up. Look how close it is for everybody else. Between 4th and 10th, it's a 5-point game, and probably even further down the standings, too, on the next page. It's probably only a 10, 15-point game, which is one good win.
And this is very, very tight, as you mentioned. Players that can still run away with it here in the second page. Look at how close they are to breaking into top 10. 28 to 32 points. That's a 4-point spread across the board. Even Cyrox, who had a Victory Royale, Rocky, they've all fell to the second page. This is not something you see very often where multiple players with Victory Royales not quite being into that top 10. So just showing you how close the competition is, and it gets tighter even here as well. Like, it looks like any one of the top from 10 to 30 could be in the top 10.
Still, man, this point spread. This is the tightest we've seen this, right? With 1 game left to go, every single interaction is going to matter. Every time you see any of these players go down, that's it. Their run will be done and their points cemented, while others have that opportunity to step forward and try and accrue more. This is coming down to the wire, boys.
Yeah, it really is. And something to note real quick, the player who won the last game, it looked like it was Garrett, 6AR, whatever you guys wanted to call it. That's Nate. That's our FNCS champion as of right now in the EU. He paired up with Andalex and Duos. So, yeah, it's no surprise that we see him there. And credit where credit's due. Well done on the Victory Royale.
Yep, and of course here the story is Toos and the guys up at the top. I mean, Exqueezy versus Toos, guys, with 1 game left, 2-point differential. This could literally go either way. And we've seen both of these guys, sometimes they're hot, sometimes they're cold, and now is the time to show up.
They're showing up today.
At Caddy Corner again, like ridiculous things. Toos has gotten this, at least Kit has spawned in the north side all 5 games, every single time, and for 3 of them, he's won the fight. But look at this now, uncontested on the north side. The first 3 games, he had 2 people landing here, but ever since then, Kira and Thomas HD are gone. And you have to ask the question, is it going to land on the north side again? Another story, though, for Squeeze, it's back to basics. None of this Season 3 type of stuff. Positioning is all that matters for him. He spent a little bit on top of the movie board at Risky Reels to get some surge tags, but then dips in central positions in the zone, and he basically has to sit pretty to accrue at least the first couple of placement points in this game.
Let's just talk about how he also fended off Kiriashi, Krezer, right, and others from that drop spot as well to put him in this kind of keen positioning right here. Center map, taking his time, biding his time with every single zone, not being too proactive when it matters, showing that he is playing for first right now, Balla.
Yeah, that is, and again, he stood in this spot for so long because center zone gives you the highest probability of getting anywhere, and we've seen the convention shift to playing dead side being very useful, but for Squeeze here, it's central zone, and if that continues, it's very important because that's a very nice free ride towards placements, and if he's doing it as well as Toos not getting the caddy launcher. I mean, that's the biggest question for me is if Kit drops to the south side and Toos does not have it, we've seen what happens in the games that he doesn't have it. He's dead off spawn. So, like, that's the big thing, right? He's not going to be a contention and not going to be a factor, and Sweeze might be able to just rack up enough to stay ahead of Tayson.
Man, this is it. It's all coming down to this very final game, the final few moments here in EU on the second week of competition here. Now, don't forget, guys, of course, we got competition tomorrow, and next Friday we'll be jumping into the heats. Still plenty of Fortnite to be had today. Right now, if you're just tuning in, it is a battle between first and second, Toos and Exqueezy. Exqueezy holding in first by only 2 points. Now, if Exqueezy can force a tie, he does have 2 victory royales, which would make him win on the tiebreakers and push him ahead, but it's still anyone's game. And again, if we could see Caddy uncontested, that is where we're going to see a major, like, it's going to be a very big question mark in the game. Because if it's uncontested, we can see a very guaranteed top 10 finish, at minimum.
Yeah, that's been the minimum for Toos. It's been top 10 in the last game. Every other game, it's been first. So, yeah, if he gets Caddy again, it's pretty much done and dusted, is what I would say and claim if Kit ends up in that north side and Toos is able to get it for free. But things change, and also people get the opportunity to take a look at what's actually going on, and is there an opportunity here? Because that's what basically we saw from Kira in that third game was like, okay, Caddy, maybe I'll give my hand. And it didn't end up working out for him. He got second place, but not too many elims, not really capitalizing like Toos was with the caddy launcher.
Man, I mean, guys, it's happening, baby. It's time to get into the last game of EU. Let's go. Bring the hype. Sundown Clay, take it away for the final game.
Balla monster. Final game here. Game number 6 of the European qualifier. The third one will have number 4 tomorrow, and the heats will be next week. My name's Sundown, joined here by Clay. I mean, Clay, you know the role, but out of those top 3, who do you think takes it? I'm going to put you on the spot right now.
Oh, that is... Ooh, you put me on. That is tough. I'm going to go with Tayson. I want to see it come from behind victory, right? He's not too far behind, but he's definitely there in contention. So I'm gonna say Tayson.
Tayson, I'd say that's a bold call, but I feel like he's been most consistent in terms of the placement. The numbers will back that up. If you look at the average placement across those 3, 23.4 for Tayson, 39.2 for Toos, who's in second, and then Exqueeze, who's in first, is at 28 right now. But we're going to take a look at that first place right now. Don't forget the difference between him and Toos is currently 2 points. Exqueeze does have a 9-point lead on Tayson, so we're keeping an eye on him and Toos primarily, and we'll see if Tayson is able to rack up another one of those most aggressive games. These 3 also are averaging some of the highest eliminations across the tournament right now for this section, so good on them. But right off of the start. Benji going down. His tournament run is over. The qualifier number 2, Victor, will have an early exit outside in 93rd.
Ooh, and a squeeze over here is now being contested at Risky. And now, not initially contested, but the rotation. Risky is a big place. It takes a long time to loot. If someone wants to come in from Authority, grab some loot, and go aggressive, they can. You do see Milan, who second place, amazing game there last game around. Game elimination. It's going to be Kiriachi. He's going aggressive, and this is something we expect time and time again from Kiriachi. If he's able to take down the Squeeze, this would be used. The leaderboard would be in shambles. 23 HP and a dream. Squeeze is down a chug splash for his life because it's on the line. Is Kiriachi going in? Squeeze 63 HP. Chug splash is continuing to come out. Crashback coming through, but I don't think you want to do that against Kiriachi. He's going to hit a lot of shots, and I don't know if Squeeze is going to be able to get out. He does. Only one shot taken there. Crashback continuing to come through, but Squeeze is going to go down to Kiriachi.
Kiriachi says, from Russia with love, we'll take him down there. Clears the path for Gambit's Toos to potentially overtake it. Now all the pressure on Toos with Tayson behind him. The gap between them was 7 points going into the game. If Toos is able to pick up a top 50 plus anything, I believe the tiebreaker is yes, he has the victory royale. So Toos gets top 50. He will push into first place. Tayson has an opportunity to overtake them, but the French player MCSX Squeeze is down and out. Kezix also has an outside shot to climb his way up. We've seen him play very aggressively. 38 points now, but keep an eye. 54 is the current top from X Squeeze. Toos was at 52, and we need to see what happens. And if any of those players go down outside of the 75, we're going to switch on overboard here to Toos. It doesn't look like he has the caddy, but it hits a big headshot right there off of the start. You can see 96 players still remaining on this side, so we're going a little bit back in time here. The replay should have given that way in the top right, so Toos picked up his own there onto Jake I, so he's going to get himself back up. So Toos only 1 point behind. He also has Kit's loot. He will pass him as long as he gets into the top 75, so tough for X Squeeze there, going down to the aggression of Virtus Pro Kiriachi.
And now onto our third place player coming through, Tayson. Has to stay alive. He needs to get to end game, and he needs to frag out. We saw him frag out early in mid games in those games where he got ahead, but now with everything on the line for that first spot, he's guaranteed himself a qualification spot, but he wants number one. He wants to get it, and it looks like a trap is going to be set up. It's Martos, and of course we've seen this time and time and again from Martos. The little Martos track comes through. He baits out the box, hides in the cone, and a nice shot there. 158. If Tayson goes down, this would be a free ride for Toos, and he does. Martos takes down Tayson.
Tayson is down, and right as that happened, Toos also picked up another elimination, which will give him first as of now on the tiebreaker. He'll tick over and not need the tiebreaker as soon as one more player goes down. This is Toos's tournament to run away with at this point. It's all going to be on Kezix and him playing hyper aggressive if he wants to catch up. Resty could also potentially have an outside shot looking in, but it's going to take a monumental effort. It's going to take a victory royale and a little bit to unseat Toos, who not only has the lead now with that 75th placement point ticking over, but has all of the mythic loadout. Kit's charged shotgun, Kit's shockwave launcher coming out of the northwest, and a not bad rotation to have either, as Kezix is going to begin his hunt to potentially try and overtake the top. 39 points for him. Toos is sitting on 54 right now, so as we said, quite the hill to climb, as Andalex and Cyrox, Game 1 winner and FNCS Duos champion, battling it out on the side. Kezix trying to get a piece of it. 233 tags will be the shield right away, and he wants to close the gap here.
And if he's able to pick up both of these eliminations, it'd put him in such a good spot. He'd go up to 41 points, as well as just the confidence going in. He's able to W key perfectly, as Kiriachi is W keying a little bit there onto Antrak and got the elimination. The shots coming through. Kezix is going to pick up Cyrox, and my heart dropped a little bit there. Thought he was going to be eliminated, but he was able to clutch it out now, and Dilix is nearby as well. He's moving. He knows there's another player there. He's on the aggressive push. He's trying to find out where Andilix is, and he has found it. The charge, though, being charged up. Kezix is going to get boxed up there a little bit, but able to outstep Andilix there for the time being. And Kezix needs to put on a game-perfect performance. This needs to be the run of his life if he wants to get into that top spot, because for right now it's free, but Andilix is putting on the pressure. He's lost HP effectively a little bit more in Andilix's favor here, but Andilix not using the crash pads effectively and is going to disengage.
And our swing back on over to Twos, up to 55 points now. With that placement point taking over in the 2 eliminations coming through. You can see him trying to line up a snipe shot. Has that legendary scope sniper, but Thomas HD says, legendary scope sniper, don't mind if I do.
Oh my God.
End it right there. His epic version, and he dances. It is now a who's who competition. Who can climb up? Who can capitalize on the fact that the top 3 players have all fallen before the top 50? No more additional points will be gained. Kezix, Resty, Ovation Arion, Refsguard, these are all the players light who could be looking at an outside shot to take away. 55 points is the line. Who will be tall enough to ride the ride, or will Toos hold on? This last game is now wide open.
And if anybody's going to snipe number 1, it has to be Thomas HD. His snipes absolutely insane time and time and time again. Reminder, 55 points is what Kezix is looking for, what Resty, what Arion is looking for. But they are looking to get, if they know these players went down, they have to play so much differently. Kezix has W keyed a lot. He needs to start playing for endgame. He needs to get those frags late game. But he was on 41 points, so he's going to need a 14-point game. It's going to be very, very, very hard. He can at least push up into second, but with 1, 2, and 3 being open for anybody to grab, Kezix has got to have a lot of pressure coming down on him.
It's anybody, realistically, whoever the victor of this game is, if they're on the top page and able to really convert, they have an actual opportunity if they get 6, 7 eliminations, which we've seen a number of times. Again, the record currently sitting at 9 going through, but let's say it's an actual record-setting performance. You go through, you get 9 and the victory royale. That is a 23-point swing. That would be just enough for Hardfind to take over and get that first place spot. We could look at somebody come through, so it's going to come down is who's able to take that victory royale, and if they're in a good enough position, if they did enough of the work to capitalize on what's coming in front of them. As we talk about that, Dimitro, aka Mitro, picking up a nice elimination there onto Fastroki. He will go down outside of that top 50. And again, a nice little closure here. Resty, 38 points, is currently, I believe, the highest point total minus Kezix, who is still in the lobby. So a player who could look to challenge up here, has the epic pistol as well as a decent loadout in terms of crash pads and utility, but what he's really benefiting from is the fact that he already has his maximum amount of brick and a decent amount of metal. That's going to set him up with the crash pads to have a good opportunity to just play for late. He doesn't need to look for a ton of picks. He has enough to make it through that point. If he can cap himself out on shield, find one siphon, he could look at setting himself up to make a run.
And Resty realistically needs if he picks up a victory royale with 3 or 4 eliminations, it would put him on top. Now, we did see Resty come close and almost get the victory, but he definitely would need that tiebreaker to come in. It will just need to break it, because the tiebreaker would go to Toos. Toos has 2 victory royales. So if anybody ties Toos, he automatically will win. So Resty is looking for that victory royale with 3, 4, 5 eliminations. And it's something he can do. He's been close. He got a second place with 5 eliminations. He just needs to get that. He just needs to get that last little bit, and Kezix as well. Right? They were neck and neck coming into this game, but Kezix we've already seen start to eclipse in points as we swap over to Bad Sniper, who has not been having the best of games, but is looking to set up a little ambush here. That's been the story of Europe, and unfortunately, Dookie going to go down there to Bad Sniper, needing to run a little bit sooner, but Bad Sniper needed this. He needs about 21 points is what we're looking at for qualification, and he's looking to solidify it.
Yeah, so if we're looking at actual just point totals and numbers right now, 55 is what Toos is at, but he has the 2 victory royales. If you're looking to overtake him there, you need 56 points to take home and win qualifier number 3 in Europe. If you're looking to guarantee yourself in heats, you're going to be looking at right around 21 points, potentially 22, depending on how 50th ends up shaking out there. But definitely have to be north of 20. So some big clutch opportunities on both sides for players, not only trying to take home the top spot, but also guarantee a chance to be playing next weekend and not have to rely and stress on those series points or just the intense competition that's gone through tomorrow. Right now you can see Wolfie's on pace to join Mr. Savage as the only player with a top 15 game to now also have double-digit eliminations. You can see here trying to add himself up and continue with the aggressive playstyle. You can see he's on the hunt right now and he finds it. Iwa going down there, 56 for him, and now 3 eliminations from Wolfie's, pushing him up to 30 points.
And this is what we've expected from Wolfies, is these late game or these late tournament turn online eliminations where he's just dominating and he's finally hitting his stride. And coming off an injury, maybe still playing with it. It's insane that he's able to play at this high of a level. This consistency is just insane. And I want to point out that this is the first time we've seen each of the top 3 go down outside of the top 65 in the last game. And that's across all the FNCSs. So that is huge. That is, the ramifications of that are insane for this lobby.
Yeah, the opportunities for these players to have one of those huge clutch moments. Generally, it's a battle between 1 or 2 people at the top. But anybody who takes over and wins this game, who is kind of within that 5th to 12th run, has an actual opportunity to just steal the entire tournament. And right now, the Genius Jewels trying to find a way back into this tournament with only a single wooden build left. 24 tag comes through the attack, but Ovation Noah Riley going to clean that one up, take the floppers, take the spoils. Needs some shotgun ammo, realistically, if he wants to continue going through. Does have the epic hunting rifle, so some good one-shot potential there. He's going to farm up some more brick. Most importantly, has the 500 metal, so he's set there. Brick and wood, very much so easy to come by on this rotation path. Now we're going to flip back on over. Excel's Wolf Dog, a.k.a. Wolfies, 2nd place in the Fortnite World Cup in the duos with his partner Rojo, trying to push forward through here right now. Has the legendary burst. They are trying to close space again. However, gets pushed back a little bit, but shields for days. My lord, I don't know the last time I saw somebody carrying 5 big pots in their loadout.
And I'm not surprised that Wolfies has got 5 big pots in his inventory. What he's got to be careful about is he's taking that HP or the white HP damage there, and he doesn't really have much to heal it up with. And Kenzo looking to put that pressure back onto him with that burst rifle. Wolfies is going to be an awkward spot if Kenzo decides to keep the aggression up that Wolfies is putting back and the shots go through. Kenzo not just going to go out easy. He's going to put the pressure back onto Wolfies. He's not going to allow him into his box. If you want to fight me, you got to fight me for this. The shots going through, they're exchanging. None of them hitting, though, as Kenzo is going to box Wolfies up there. Back and forth, and a big tag there. The 5 big pots may not matter anymore, as Kenzo is going to take him down. Wolfies just got too over-aggressive.
Yeah, he did get a pity point right before then, getting into the top 50. The Marauders coming over, dropping some of the stink bombs and a little bit of harassment onto Kenzo, but he's not going to worry about that. And he can barely believe his eyes with all those extra big pots in there as well, sorting through, figuring out what he wants to end up running with. Looks like for now he's going to opt to leave the floppers and opt to go with the big pots and the minis. We'll see if that decision ends up biting him. Right now you have the Heavy Marauders still closing the distance. Only 2 of them left up there, though, so should be easy enough for him to clean up. As we swing back on over to one of our players in contention, it's Kezix. 41 points right now. Has the hunting rifle as well.
I'm just worried about where he's positioned. It's not the center zone, which give him an easy rotating. It does have launch pads, but you talked about using him this early is never ideal. And he only has 1 crash pad as well. There's a lot of players going to be rotating this time. He's got to be very careful about this rotate. One wrong move, one wrong step, and Kazakh goes down here, and if he goes down, it slowly solidifies first place for Toos. So Kazakh you see him scouting everything he can. He's looking at every opportunity for a shot onto him, and now decided, hey, I'm gonna run in. But we got a replay coming on here as Arion on your screen looking to try to crash pad in is unfortunately gonna fall off the side of the mountain. Not able to get where he wants to be. The shots come through. The shot strike comes through, and Omega is going to fall there because of it.
Yeah, but notice how Arion has no builds in that situation. That's why he went for the last-minute crash pad. That was one of our players who could have potentially had an outside shot of taking over, and he will go down there. And that's a common theme I'm noting through a lot of the players who we flipped through. Kezix has sub-50 builds. Light is about sub-70 builds, and he's very much so in the middle on wood, trying not to burn through his metal. So if he gets chosen in this situation, it could be very awkward. He's just desperately trying to get into the zone. The second round of placement points have ticked over, but it's all going to be on whether or not one of these players can clutch up and get the victory royale in a number of eliminations.
Light could be one to do it, but he would need a very, very big run. And putting it together now, Samtosh gonna go down, and the immediate shots coming through. I believe that may have been a harpoon that ended up tagging him there, as Light does disengage there from Krej. Flick nearby as well. He's actually going back in, being a little greedy for the loot. Has to be careful about that. Teak under screen as well. One of those players that we saw dominate the past couple weekends, but hasn't done much. And now on your screen is Kha'Zix. We're panning into him. He's being very aggressive when he doesn't need to be. Player in his box. He needs to convert this. He needs to get out of this or get the elimination, and he does decide to disengage. This is not where Kha'Zix wants to be. He wants to be on the offensive or nowhere near these players, but he's on the edge of zone. Everyone's going to start to spray him when they realize, hey, he's in wood builds. He's got 7 builds remaining. He's going to have to be a little bit of a loot goblin here, and this may not be what he wants to do. 43 players remaining. He's just outside of placement there for, I believe, that top 40 coming through before him, but no, he's in zone. This is not looking good for him all around. Teak is going to fall. He's in zone trying to heal. Players are shooting at him. He's going to get sprayed from above 50 HP. He does have that flopper, but no big shields remaining. He does have time to pop the minis, but this is just really bad for Kha'Zix. He doesn't want to be here. Player on his wall. He's trying to get out. Crashman's going to come through. That player going to be in the box. It's just a mess of where everybody is. Going for the edit shots come through, and Kha'Zix is down.
He goes down outside of the top 40. Keats playing spoiler there. No more run for him. Who will be able to push up towards the top, or has it just all been sealed in from Toos? Kiriachi able to come in and take down Xqueezy early on. It's all on the back of Rusty right now, whether or not he can take it away. Currently sitting on 40 points. I believe he's the highest rated player left, getting stuck a little bit on the mountainside there. Server will catch up, takes a decent amount of damage, only has the 1 mini though, so going to need to start finding picks, and he's one of the few players outside of the zone. Good crash pad angle, but unfortunately not able to chain them together and keep the momentum. Does find a second and catches himself right before hitting a third, which seemed probably like a good call there. Didn't want to get popped back up and potentially be the clay pigeon for the rest of the lobby.
I think the reason being he doesn't have the shield to do it with. No extra shield in his inventory. 100, effectively like 113 HP. Can't really do much with that in the air, so he has to find something. His passive right nearby. Rusty looking for the backside of zone pistol elimination. He's not trying to go out just without swinging, at least for that top 3. Again, he's only 1 point behind Kha'Zix, but he was, I think, 5 points behind where Tayson ended up. I believe at 45. Again, the number 55 is where you're looking for. 56 points will get you a first place here, as number 1, 2, and 3 have all been eliminated going into this end game. Passive just needs to look for that top 50, which is going to be around 20. It may be a little lower today. It may be right at 20, maybe right at 21. We've seen it time and time again. He needs an 8-point game, which is certainly doable for a player with the amount of mats and loadout that he's got.
It would be doable, but it's going to be very difficult. In one quick little call, it Cypher Passive was able to rocket himself up the standings last game from 90th to 30th. While he hasn't locked a qualification yet, that's a really impressive performance. It's something we talk about seeing on the backside. Now, it's all going to come down to who's able to steal a victory royale away here, either for a qualification themselves, it'll guarantee a spot in heats through the points, or potentially stealing away that number 1 spot. However, Toos looks like he seems to have had it with a little bit of help from Kiriachi, taking out Xqueezy off of the start. Kiriachi did seem to guarantee himself a qualification with his early eliminations despite being taken down. Now on board here, Air Bafo getting a good rotation and landing directly on top of 404 Rocky, another player who spent some time in the top 10 but unfortunately dropping down. Mitra will pick up Kinzel as well as we close in on top 30. Light, another player who potentially could have made that run, will fall to X-Camo. So this is going to be mostly about who's able to seal their qualification in here and potentially a miracle run at the end, though it doesn't look like we're going to get it. And MCES X-Squeeze should be likely our Qualifier 3 champion, but now on board here with Irabafo.
And he's in a decent spot. His second height, though, is looking to take it here. Now all the way back down to a little bit of, a sticky situation there, able to get out. We see Refsguard going to get eliminated there. Bafo making their way through. Avesta Kira, who's got that kit Shockwave launcher in his inventory, only has 2 Shockwaves left, so he's looking to go up the high ground again. Passive we saw was sitting around, I think, 30, the mid to the high 30s there. So he could make the run as well. It could be very, very close. He's going to need a miracle play. Kira is going to take the high ground for now, but builds remaining are concerning for a little bit as he's trying to look for any elimination that he can. Any use of that shockwave launcher if it's able to get him an easy elimination. The nice beam there up above. That's going to be Flick going down there to fall damages. Kiko going to go down as well. But a lot of players still in this that could contest for that top spot. We saw Ressi still in this game as well. Has yet to go down. Right there in your screen, you see Thomas HD as well. And for a lot of these players, it's just about staying alive to get as many placement in as many elims as I can so that I can get into that top 50. Is passive now on your screen in a very, very good spot. So my apologies, was not right where I thought he was at 16. So he needs an amazing game just to qualify.
Yeah, passive doing everything he can with that glider grab no gun. Thomas HD going down. We have our top 15. Another round of placement points ticking over as Noah Riley just on the outside looking in. Bad Sniper picks up Camu. Martaz picks up Cabo. Stana goes down to the Storm. One more to fall and we'll have our top 10. No miracle runs coming through today. It's all going to be about the final qualification, who can seal away the top 50 and who's able to get the bragging rights of a nice little victory royale on EU. We have a Vesticuri on the top right, Cypher passive in your bottom right, who's strung together a nice little string of elims to push himself into the top 5 here. 4 for him, but a Vesticuri has control. As you see, Martaz going to fall, and we have our top 4 now.
And that's just what passive needed. He needed an amazing game to get those points up there, because he was on the cusp of not qualifying, and this would be amazing if he was able to pick up the dub and qualify, as Pickens is unfortunately going to fall there to Kira, as the Jules glider going to be used to take high ground there. Kira needs to get that shockwave launcher reloaded, and he does, but he's going out in the zone a little bit too far in. He doesn't have any floppers to regain that HP, but only 3 ticks taken. As passive is taking the high ground there, Podesai on the low ground looking to try to stay in zone for as long as he can. A shockwave launcher going to be used. Passive going to block over the top, is not going to get shockwave in the zone. He does have the grapple gun, so he can use it to drop on down. Shots coming through. Kira going to get actually eliminated there by Podesai to fall damage. This is Passive's game to win. Shots coming through. He's got the shotgun out. He's doing a lot of damage. The shockwave was used, but Passive going to come out on top with a 6 elimination victory royale.
Brilliantly done from passive there. Huge push with the victory royale. Got him all the way up to 28th. Just a great run, or 28 points, pushing him up into qualification range, able to make sure he secures himself a spot in the heats to make it through next weekend. We'll be seeing more of him and plenty of those players, but congratulations again to MCES X-Squeeze, who just got edged out, unfortunately, by Toos there.
What an insane sort of games. We saw it last weekend in qualifier number 2 between Benji and Noah Riley. Today, it was Taste on X-Squeeze and Toos all fighting for that top spot. And Toos, congratulations, you were able just to edge it out. What an amazing day.
It was an amazing day, but that's it from us. We're going to throw it back on over to the analyst deck. Zeke, Balla, Monster, take it away.
Thank you guys so much. Great cast on the day and a great wrap up here to EU. Now, of course, guys, we got to check the standings. Not only were the 2 players, Toos and our boy Squeezy, going head to head, we got to remember, heading into this game, Squeezy was ahead by 2 points. Toos was behind him by 2 points. Immediately, Squeezy was eliminated 89th, and Toos held on. He picked up 2 eliminations and placed 68th to get himself the 3 points to move him into that number 1 spot.
Wow, what a tournament for that to actually occur. Toos hangs on, but by a mere thread. And like you said, what a weird situation where the top 3 was eliminated, and from there it was everybody in the top 7, everybody who had contention. I mean, you saw Resty, Kezix, Noah, Arian, all of these guys dropping like flies and not able to catch up to Toos in the final moments.
You just don't see it happen very often. Your top 5 all fall so early in the competition. It's got to be heartbreaking, but that's how it's going to play out. Here's your look at other players that are qualifying through. No, let's not forget that it was top 50 that was up on the line. Of course, the battle for first was close, though.
6 people tied with 39 points there, all the way down through 11th. Rotary right now holding down the spot with 33 points on. Let's not forget the 21 points last week, twice, both days, was a threshold to break into top 50. Right now, Passive did find himself the Victory Royale, which this is actually quite telling, right? Because in that last game, suddenly he finds himself inside the top 50. That was a 20 points. So he was outside, and that game was his way of saying, I'm going to the heats. This is it.
Yeah, I'm going to seasonal finals. Yeah, well done from him in the last game. And to get it on a win is definitely a positive note for him. Also, other people here, too. Don't forget, this was the second to last day before we end and have the players who are going to the seasonal finals. So if you're not there in series points and you haven't done it in the grand finals, you have to do it in round 3. So Martaz did it too. A couple definitely big names did it all around. I mean, we saw also and Alexa's partner Nate earlier on get that one win. So there's a number of people who clutched up. Maybe we'll see them again tomorrow who had another opportunity. But for the time being, that's definitely a sigh of relief for all these players.
And this right here is your last page. Check it out. Zeke Rifla is going to be that 50th place with 21 points like you called.
Dude, I was just going to tell you, I was going to be like, Monster, look, at 21 points. It's back with a vengeance. I mean, why do you guys think we can't break this 21-point threshold? Is this just the average? You think this is just it? It's always going to be 21 points?
I think it's just the way that the format works, right? It does give these placement points to a wide variety of people, so it all kind of rises as a tide, essentially, in terms of the eliminations, too. At 1 point per elim, there's really not much differentiating factor at all. But let's take a look at some of the moments in that last game, and also our winner, Toos. The big thing, the turmoil at the beginning, Monster, we were freaking out because of how many of the top players were falling. There's Tayson against Martaz, who falls, and then this one was the big one, Toos, who ended up being in first place at this point against Thomas HD.
Yeah, this is the other perspective. We didn't get to see how it looks. So it was a small engagement here, and he gets caught while he's backing away after the fight. And this is the one misplace from Squeezier. Using the crashbacks to disengage. He was just too high in the sky and gets cut off. But it's this early game, too. It's hot and cold, right? We talked about this.
Yeah, that fight with Squeeze and Kiriachi, by the way, is like a reversal of what we saw earlier. He had won that fight multiple times, but you're right, Toos, hot and cold, and for a reason is that it kept coming to this north side. There kept being a player here, but that ended up turning away in games 4, games 5, and game 6. He continued to win off spawn, though, and thankfully he had the luck on his side to find Kit so many times in the corner of Caddy Corner, and winning 2 games is no understatement.
It's ridiculous because we talk about, Kit's loot being strong, but this is the first time we see someone who plays Caddy's Corner take the entire tournament. And I mean, it wasn't a clean takeaway, right? It was so close, but we haven't seen anyone up until this point actually successfully take an entire run, right? So this day 3 qualifier for EU, this is a statement. Toos made it work this time, where other people did not find the full success because of how much battling goes on in caddies.
He absolutely put all the pieces together. 2 Victory Royales again to his name. Mad props to, seriously. That was an unbelievable day of Fortnite, and just that back and forth kept us all on our toes. So congratulations to you and to everyone who participated in the top 50. Moving on to you guys as well. We will see you in heats. But that's it from us here from EU. Don't forget, we are back later for more action out of NA East. Till then, Fortnite fam, we'll see you guys on the Battle Bus.